Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. 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 It's alright, alright, alright. Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. 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 It's alright, alright.
All right, thank you, thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Well, it's time to start class again. For those of you online, and of course those in the house, we're about to have a good time again tonight. We got some great subjects to cover. You know, I was thinking about this the other night. If this class starts to feel very, very intense, you know, one, reach out to your peers first. Because if you talk about it, you can process it. Some of these ideas are really complex ideas. They're not part of our cultural norm. You don't hear them every day in our culture. We don't hear them every day in our schools. We just don't hear them every day, period. And so a lot of these ideas that we're introducing in class, you turn me down in the house. Can you turn me up a little bit in the house? Can you turn me down? Okay. But a lot of these ideas that we're introducing in class, just make sure you're processing, you're reflecting. If you're not reflecting, you're going to lose these ideas. And these ideas are going to really, like, it's almost like imagine you on a journey and you're about to take off. And on this journey, you're going to have combat. And when combat arrives, you lost your gun. So, like I can't begin to tell you, like, you can't develop knowledge that's only relative. You have to start loading up your shed full of tools that when things do break down, you can go to your shed and grab tools. I don't know about you, but when we first moved into our house, we didn't have all those, I didn't have a lot of fancy tools. So every time something broke down, I was in line at Home Depot. So you can imagine how something small project turned out to be a half a day every damn time. So eventually I just started investing in a lot of tools. So when stuff broke down, I just go into my garage, 1, 2, 3 is done, fix it, and keep moving about my day. Well, if you look at business as business is going to wait on you and there's no competition, you can move that slow. But if you're in a world where you're in competition, and let's say the early bird catches the worm, not necessarily that minor or that elementary, but in competition, the best performance wins. Not the first to arrive doesn't win. Not the smartest person doesn't win. Not the best person wins. It's the one who performs the best who wins. And so these ideas I'm presenting you with, they will save you in more places than you can imagine, from your family to your community groups you belong to, your churches, anything that you're a part of this organization design, or anything where you're part of a structure, your household, your neighborhood. These ideas are transferable in all these different areas. And we don't realize how we've been living under these standards of servitude, which means that we were brought to this country through a pipeline of servitude. And to this day, we still have a lot of those principles that sound so innocent, but they come wrapped with your grandmother hug, or these beautiful stories that make you feel like, oh my God, I need to hold on to these ideas and these principles. And also, if this class upsets you a little bit, that's fucking good. Because change, your brain is not designed just to hear new information and just change. It's designed to question it. And you should question it, and you should research it. Because once you research it, maybe you can tell it better than I can tell it, and you can spread it better than I can spread it. But I don't share, I try to remove my personal opinion, because that's got me in a lot of trouble. And I try to, from the work we do in the field, which is working on business solutions, and me being an entrepreneur for 17 years, and then me working with the latest techniques and strategy, I combine all that with historical principles that haven't really changed. These are patterns that constantly, like, the future is unpredictable, but there are patterns that exist around us. And if you're not aware of how those patterns work, quite often you may perform well if you're at the lower level of that pattern, and you may be able to survive really, really well as long as you stay within that lower level. But once you change levels, there are new patterns. And as you rise, there's different patterns that are waiting for you. And if you're not familiar with those patterns, your lack of familiarity with those patterns will actually hold you back. And so quite often, it's not really somebody else holding you back, because other humans ain't that goddamn good. Matter of fact, if you don't believe me, find somebody who's really trying to perform in any kind of category and go spend the rest of your life trying to hold them back and see what happens to your life. You lose every fucking thing you have. So holding somebody back is not really, those ones are really incentivized to really hold you back. We're still referencing small America, and in modern day America is so large, everybody's trying to get theirs. But quite often, one of the reasons we can't get ours is because what's holding us back is how we think, and we didn't know there's a different way of thinking. So it's not that other people are hiding things from you. You can't hear if your brain can't reference where they're coming from. And so it's critical that, that you reflect on this material, go back home and make sure upset is okay. Another person called me today and they said, no, I was trying to keep up the class, but I just can't. And they're running a business. So I just went ahead and I'm gonna bow out. And I said, okay, fam, peace. And I'm not, trust me, I'm not, because I'm not doing this. This doesn't make me no money. This is not, Fight Team Media makes my money. This is more or less my hope for a better world, especially a community that my daughter can walk through and have businesses and organizations designed to support or help her maximize her growth. But this is what I found is interesting about that. There's a lot of people out here who have jobs or working on business or whatever, and they just show up every day and they don't invest in any change. They just wait for an invisible God to come along and reward them. And when it doesn't happen, they run around and they get mad at everybody, and everybody's racist, sexist, homophobic. Everything's just wrong. When you don't do anything, you can't be at all the clubs, in all the videos. You can't, right? You just can't be. You can't be at all the festivals. At some point, like, whatever you want in life is a commitment. It's an exercise. If you really want to, like, don't examine your outcome, examine your exercise. If you don't like the way your muscles look, don't spend hours in the mirror trying to do push-ups. I mean, trying to use clay or something or some kind of some type of outfit to push your chest up or something like this or whatever, or tighten your waist in. Tighten up your workout. Tighten up your diet. Tighten up your practices. Tighten up your mindset. Tighten up your belief system. But it's funny because what's comical to me is that some of the people say, no, I don't have time for this. Then they want to stop me when I'm out on my journey and say, can I spend some time talking to you? In the words of my grandfather, fuck no. I ain't got time for that. Because if you don't want to invest, it's like, I don't want to invest in myself, but I want to sit down with you and tell you, hey, can I ask you something? How come I can't beat Kevin Durant in basketball? Can you just explain that to me? I don't practice. You don't play basketball. What the fuck are you talking about? And why are you wasting my time having this conversation? This business shit is, look, business is not about you get into the game because you hella smart. You get in the game because you hella special. You grow all those things. You grow your intelligence. You become greater. It's a process. It's a growth process. In that process, the growth comes with rewards. But if you decide you don't want to grow, and then your ego just wants to tell you you are something, even though you don't invest in something, then you want to talk about the competition and you don't put no time into yourself. Do you see the distraction? I can't believe Shabisha wouldn't hire me. She gonna hire Kaja. Kaja's putting hours of practice in. I put none, but because we both got the similar looking logo, I think I should have the same position she has. Instead of me saying, damn, what about Kaja workout that I need to improve on I need to go see her workout so I can improve my workout so I can develop this relationship with Shabisha. But it's kind of this warped as approach. Anyway, I'm gonna get off that soapbox, but just know that most of the stuff in life comes back to you. Most of the stuff in life comes back to you. There's some things in life that ain't got nothing to do with you. It is what it is. But a lot of stuff that's happened to you in your life, can we just cut that blame shit out? Let's just cut it out. Like social justice got the world fucked up, but we even add to the fucked up energy. Steph Fernell asked a question from last week. I want to answer this question, then we're going to move into this class. Steph said, in spaces of markets where social justice mental models are dominant, such as education, how do you balance showing a level of empathy and understanding to your clients without being fully sucked into those cognitive distortions? Shit. So what she's saying is that she works in education and it's social justice steroids on 10. And she's saying, how do you balance that, right? Because she goes to work every day and it's kind of overwhelming in those environments. And she's saying, how does she maintain her empathy? It's important to always see people as being good. If you move away from the inferior versus superior people, buy into this idea that all people are good. Look at the intent of social justice people. Social justice people have the right intent, just have a horrible methodology. So it's a great intent, right? Great intent is I want to see everybody have a fair chance. I want to see strong opportunities for people, right? It's good intent. Quite often what I do when I'm in a social justice environment, which are very few, and I got to work on myself because I'm pretty bad now, but when I had to function with some of those clients, now I just have a buffer so I don't have to talk to them, is I would always not show up with answers, show up with the better question. Matter of fact, let me say this to you. As a leader of a business, master this. This is a master you need to master. Learn not to find the best answer, find the best question. Don't find the best answer, find the best question. I'm going to come back to that in just a few. Did she steal my stuff right? Hold on a second. Let me look at my slides real quick. Because I had this slide. I'm not sure she put it in there. I'm going to make sure she put it in there. I don't see it. Okay, I just go ahead and make an announcement. I'll have you guys write something down. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we'll jump into the slide real quick. I'm gonna just make up the slide. She didn't put it into my slides. I missed it. One of the slides I wanted to highlight today was, as a leader, This is important. This is so important. I need you to really like process this. As a leader of business or anything else, a leader in your household, a leader in a school, leader in a community, your number one goal is to lead people into uncertainty. Let me say this again. Your number one goal is lead people into uncertainty. I want you, if you really hear what I just said, you'll understand how powerful that is. Many of us think that we know where we're going. Many people think that if you just follow the steps of the past, you will get where you need to go. But actually, the real world that you're about to walk into when you start to build something is full of uncertainty. Nothing's guaranteed. You know, back in the days, remember, pastors used to say, hey, the future's not guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed. Things are always shifting, changing. Trends are changing. People are changing. Resources are changing. Weather could change. Full of uncertainty, right? When you go from 2 people to 25 people, complete uncertainty. Yet, we walk around as if we're absolutely certain. So in this class, I said at the beginning of the 6 months, I said, you have to hold 2 opposites in your mind in business to be successful. 2 opposite ideas has to be true. You have to walk knowing you are walking a path of uncertainty, but often you have to give your employees a sense of certainty. So if I'm talking to my team, I may speak with certainty. But when I'm plotting my future, I know that I'm working with uncertainty. That means I have to walk down this path with curiosity and figuring things out as I move forward, not expecting everything to be the way it is. A lot of times, this is concept around data that says, like, people who follow data. So people say, what's the data? You know, one of the arguments around quantitative and qualitative data management, and you hear this in business school all the time, is that, you know, they believe you must follow data. If you run a business, you gotta read the data. Data has its value, but here's the argument around data. It's okay to reference history until it's no longer history. What I mean by that is that when you expect something to happen again the way it happened in the past, it's okay when it doesn't. And quite often it doesn't. Because as you expand, for example, even in your own personal life, things are always changing. But people who have a sense of always wanting to go back to the last week's kind of the distortion, which is control, people who want to feel like they can control the future, they understand what's next, they want to have the answer to everything, they always want to be right, you're actually betraying your leadership. Leadership is about curiosity. Matter of fact, you can't feel the public you're seeking to serve. There's nobody in this room has the capabilities to think about, okay, let me think about the people in Oakland. You can't feel them. It's a make-believe theory. You cannot feel the diversity. You cannot feel the buying habits. You cannot feel the night habits. You cannot feel the relationships. You can't feel none of that shit. When you reference something, you're only referencing a roughness of anywhere between 1,500 to 150 people that you can think of. So if a city has 500,000, or the Bay Area, which is 7.5 million, you can't feel that population. It's impossible. Because you can't feel that population, your brain makes up make-believe ways of processing a large group of people. That's why we say black people feel like this. But if you did a survey tomorrow, you might find out, well, yeah, black people in this small region do. Black people in this region don't actually necessarily believe in that shit, right? Because as people separate, we evolve differently to the same problem. So although all black people are dealing with a version of white supremacy, how we're showing up to it is varying the more we continue to expand and grow. So you can't see it. You really can't see it. This is why when Court taught last year about belief systems in the beginning, he was giving you a powerful ass business strategy, and let me translate it to you now. You ever heard me say, fuck your beliefs or fuck your emotions? I'm gonna come back to fuck your emotions later on. When I say fuck your beliefs, I'm actually telling you business principles, but I'm just using hood East Oakland language on how to talk to you. In business, write this down. It's not about what you believe, it's about what would you have to believe to be successful. It's not about what you believe, it's about what do you have to believe to be successful. Because quite often in business, what you believe has nothing to do with what the market believes. And when you run around in a world of uncertainty trying to amplify your beliefs, unfortunately, you're misguiding and misleading, you're misguiding the group that you lead. in order for you to properly lead a large group of people, you have to always shift your beliefs to what you need to believe to be successful. Your beliefs quite often is your number one personal hurdle, because this is what happens with a lot of managers. Managers will come into office and they're all taking their historical accomplishments, their education, their experience as being a manager, and they walk into a room and they say, hey, I believe this is the problem. And somebody goes, well, I believe this is a solution. And then the person says, I believe this is a solution, right? And because everybody in that room is arguing their personal beliefs, guess what they leave out of the conversation? The fucking customer. You have all these all you have, first of all, probably none of you guys in this room buy these type of products. And if you do, you have a very narrow relationship to this product. And then you also have a bias towards your own product because you have passion around your own product. You have a story that blinds you to your own product. Now, all these lovers of this bias are in this room arguing which way to go for the company, for the customer they cannot see. What each manager should ask himself is, what would I have to believe for us to be successful as a company? Very different way of thinking. This is why in your offices, when you show up, you should not show up with your beliefs. You should show up with the best possible question. You see the connection now? It's one of those things where your beliefs is a limitation as you expand. When you're selling, like, if you're in a corner of your block and you're selling apples, your belief probably pretty much will work, because that's that region of people that are pretty similar. You could probably fill that little small region. But if your apples start to sell citywide, countywide, statewide, those beliefs will betray you. It changes. I always tell the story about my friend friend of mine who runs the company, Maven, who does hair weaves. And he blew the company up through the .com. And he decided to push his product down south, and it was going really, really well, which he would build these relationships with the hairdressers. The hairdressers would just log in their cell phone, punch in what weave they wanted, and the weave would, boom, land, and they can do the weave right there and there. So this is right around gay rights, gay marriages. We receive the rights to be married, which is kind of weird to keep saying these kind of receive the rights. We didn't talk about this before the camera came on. But anyway, receive the rights to be married. And he sent out an email going, hey, to all the people in the gay community who received the right, congratulations for finally receiving the rights to finally be with the one you love the way you want to be with the one. Something really thoughtful and respectful. The Southern gay community went off because the Southern gay community don't see things like San Francisco gay community. They don't want to be celebrated for their behavior because they have this weird dynamic where they know they're gay, but they also see it as a sin, and they see it as inappropriate as celebrating it. Where in San Francisco, there's a level of freedom that the South doesn't have. So the customers actually blew back on him. Now, he couldn't have felt that coming because he's used to San Francisco gay community. But once he hit down south, he can't feel that. He's a straight male. He doesn't even hang out with gay community like that. So once you decide to expand your product into a market, you can't feel them. So when you start saying, well, I believe this is what's best for my company, that egotistical lockdown on trying to be right or be the most knowledgeable person in the room is destroying you because you can't see who you're serving. So now you have to rely upon outside sources to pull in information. And if that information says you should go left and it feels like the most work, like it feels like it's stupid to you, then the first thing you say to yourself is, what must I believe for me to be successful to get this company to turn left? And that's called business right there. That's grown folk shit. Any questions on that before I move to the next one? We good? All right, let's just go over last week. Let's go over some reviews from last week real quick. So we talked about closure. We did a closure on Circle of Competence. We talked about cognitive distortions, personalization, and control fallacies. Hopefully you guys got the power of the fear factor and the principles of time, attention, money. She put it as number 5. It shouldn't have been number 5. That should have been on his own slide. Skip number 5. That was supposed to be his own slide. But the fear factor. So we highlighted last week how the fear factor causes you to poorly direct your resources to solve your own problems. And we're going to continue to close. We're going to close that out this week. And hopefully I showed you guys how that same fear can be empowered to create your own personal passion. Passion comes from your alignment with your fear. So let's do this exercise real quick before we move forward. Everybody write down at home as well as online. Write down, what is it you really, really want to be? If you thought about, if you were in an absolute state of success, what would that look like right now? Just write it down. It should be no more than a sentence. If somebody has like a paragraph, you need to work on shrinking that goddamn paragraph. So write a sentence of, if I had my choice where I want to be right now, where would that be? We're gonna do a fast exercise. Where would you be if you could just close your eyes and just be there right now? Where would that be? As far as if I could just be here, I would be so happy. Of course, we know that's a distortion, but still.
Like an actual place?
Huh? Not talking about lifestyle, not vacation style. You see, I see you already. You talking about I be in the Bahamas? Fuck all y'all. But I'm talking about lifestyle, like a life, like what you do every day. Like job. What you do for a living, like how you get down, how you wake up in the morning, that kind of stuff. Kasha, you too. I don't trust your answer either. I don't. Okay, but everybody, let me know when everybody. Just raise your hand when you got your one sentence completed. You was asking how you finish the sentence. You just asked the question. Down with your ass. Oh God, that's funny. Anybody else need some time real quick? It should be one sentence. So it's a lifestyle. If everything in my life was where I wanted to be, this is what I'd be doing for a living. This is exactly where I want to be. Huh? Is it okay if what? I can't hear you. You got to speak a little louder. It's okay if she said what? Oh, you don't know? Oh, okay. Okay, hey, listen here. I'm 50 motherfucking 4. I don't need to be sitting here straightening my goddamn ears. Y'all speak the hell up. Y'all young. Shit, y'all be on the street hollering like the club. Act like we at the club and raise your voice. Shit. Turn up. Shit. Hey, y'all know that song, Turn Down for What? So, I've been singing for years, Turn Up for What? And my kids be like, oh, God, this is so embarrassing. I'm like, turn up for what? And like, oh, no, don't do it no more. Just don't. I just learned this week that wasn't turn up for what, it was turn down for what. That is hilarious. Anyway, because I didn't give a shit. I just liked the way the song sounded. I didn't know what the hell he was saying. Like that old at the barbecue singing all the wrong words. That's me. I don't be giving a shit. Eyes be closed and everything. All right, everybody ready? We'll go to the next part of exercise. Okay, so now you wrote down if your dreams came true and where you want to be. Now I want you to think deeply for a second. What role does fear play in that process? I want you to tie fear to that. So write down how fear has made that dream your dream. Like what in your past do you fear, or what do you fear that said, this is why I want to be here? Because remember I told you, fear is a healthy thing if you learn how to use it. It's a bad thing when it's being used against you. Corey, you can hear a pin drop in this motherfucker. I ain't never heard this class. I could usually hear Shakita's thoughts. Y'all shit went quiet. Because you get in touch with that fear, that becomes a power for you. And when you can voice that fear, that could become your own personal motivation. Because if you think every time you hit an obstacle, you're going to just jump over that motherfucker, it doesn't work like that. There's going to be days you're going to hit an obstacle and you're going to say, my God, I don't want to do it no more. But if you remember why you're there, and that fear is part of the story. Critical. Many of us we get so focused on where we're going, we forget why we decided to go there. And it ain't all because you just like candy and you just want to beat Willy Wonka. There's a fear. Yeah, if you're a kid, possible, but as an adult, no. Oh my God. I'm laughing because that's possibly Shakina's issue. Well, you saying, what'd you say your name would be? Hashtag what? Yeah, she said she'd take that from Liza. Liza, Shakina be eating. But yeah, if you write that down, I'm back to being serious. It just jokes. I got jokes in my head. I use it all the time. Use it all the time. Because if I was just up to my own, allowed me to be up to my own feelings, my own emotions, all my cutoff point is be much earlier. I'll quit way earlier. But when you can live for something bigger than you, and a lot of times your fears will give you a clue on what that is for you. And it tells you a lot about what moves you, also how people can control you as well. So you have to be so clear about that, because you can spend 5 or 10 years under somebody else's manipulation because they're tapping your fear. So you got to know what it is, and then you can hear the dog whistle that's being used to pull you into a belief system that is not for you. Anything interesting you might want to share, or you guys want to just keep it personal? It's up to you guys. Give us about no more than 5 minutes if you want to open up on anything. Risha, how you gonna grab the microphone and look around? she like this. Yeah, anything y'all want to share? Go ahead.
I can go first.
Go ahead.
I will.
All right, so everybody try to keep it more than a minute, because I want to make sure that 4 or 5 people that.
You want to be more than a minute?
No more, just no more than a minute. No more than a minute, because look, stop it. Go ahead.
I feel really loud.
No, it's you okay. You okay?
I'm good?
Yeah, you good. You good.
Okay, I'm just loud to myself.
No, it's
Right.
good. So good. So good.
Okay. So what I'd want to be is a micro investor in small businesses. And what led me to that, the fear that led me to that, was my experiences in large companies, because I made decisions to trade myself for money.
Oh, the fear. So there's a fear of losing yourself for money.
Giving myself away, because loss implies like I didn't see it, but those were very intentional decisions that I made.
Whoa, that's powerful. That's real powerful.
Okay. I said I wanted to be free,
Mm-hmm.
like meaning from my job and just in general, be able to live my life the way I want to live it.
Mm-hmm.
And my fears, I said, quitting the job and not having a steady income, or being able to have the confidence that I can, make my money for myself.
But the key was, I want to be free. What is your fear of being captured? That's more important. Or being stuck in the system, or not being free. Mm-hmm. The fear that what fear says, I need freedom to free me from my fear. What fear is that's on the other side?
Say that again.
So okay, when you're not free, what do you fear about not being free?
What do I fear about not being free?
Mm-hmm.
Wasting my life working for somebody.
Which means what? That's important.
I'm not living my life the way I want to live it.
Which means what?
I don't know.
I don't know, shit. You know what? I'm so glad I was born black, because that shit's the greatest thing in the world. I don't know. There is an answer there. You want to keep tapping deeper. Keep breaking, keep dig a little deeper. The reason you want to dig a little deeper, because there's power there for you. Because if you don't, we lose sight of that fear, and it could be something that happened in your childhood. You're like, yo, I don't like this feeling. I don't want life to pass me by, because I've been serving all these people interests my whole life, right? But when you can articulate it clearly, you can catch you can you can control more of your life. It's when you can't articulate it. Somebody can walk in a room and have a seminar about freeing yourself from all this, and you're like, that just sounds so good to me. But it just tapped your fear directly. But when you know that, you're like, that's my fear, so it don't mean nothing to me. You know that you have a bias if somebody mentions your fear. Do you want to be free? You be like, yeah, right? You on QVC late at night. Yes, I do. Like, so you just want to be that awareness, because trust me when I say, you take that same thing that can be used against you and harness it to use it for yourself. That's why I'm trying to get you to go there. So tap a little deeper, and if you can, like next week when you come back, see if you read something different. All right, who's next?
So I wrote, I would own my own home, work 6 hours or less a day, and focusing on building infrastructure. I'd have successfully launched my franchise with the focus of people of color, and I'd be impacting my community with my nonprofit / community center. And I wrote for fear that I want to be able to achieve this because I seek stability for myself and my family, and I'm tired of seeing my community struggle, and I believe that if we band together that we can have some long-term impact for our current and future generations.
So there was so much noise in your early statement, because remember I said one sentence for a reason, because I'm trying to help you guys avoid the noise, because it is a deep dive into yourself. And then your answer, I think the answer is in there, but it's still noise, because before the community is you. So if you talk about put the mask on your own face, you got to go deeper inside yourself. What do you personally fear for yourself? That's also tied to you. Because even when we say we don't need community, that's still tied to a fear. Isolation for human beings is a scary ass place, right? That means death for many of us. So when we use the word community, if I say I want to be part of a big community, that means I fear a certain level of isolation and death, right? And so in that stuff, there's the deeper, because it's so important to own that. Trust me when I say this, I'm pro-black. Oh, okay, I reframed it progressive black, because I don't do a lot of that. I'm not walking around with strawberry sticks in my mouth and tell you that Egypt's the only thing we need to think about. But I evolved in my blackness, right? And so in my evolution of blackness and my growth and learning how to build, so I went from the defensive side to the offensive side, I was in the pro-black community under that hallucination for years. See, what we need to explain to people is that, Africa, the original man came from Africa. We're the original people, and the pyramids, and then until the 18th dynasty, Africa controls all that. We're the originators of the man. Okay, what the fuck does that mean to, like, this brother who can't feed his fucking self? What the fuck does that mean to East Oakland? What the fuck does that mean to Africa today? Right? But I was so caught up in that, I was donating and giving all my time and making all my decisions, satisfying something. And one day I sat down and realized, ain't nobody doing shit. We're all shaming each other and trying to act like we're the smartest person in the motherfucking room, and we're all underperforming, probably squares and underperforming people before. The problem was I wasn't square. That's why it wasn't working so well. But I was like, if you're not popular, and then this makes you popular because now you umbaba kumbulu, and now you're the most popular dude in the street because you got the locks in your hair. Well, now you incentivized to play this motherfucking role. But because I always remind myself, I love black people. And loving black people means you gotta learn to love diversity, because we ain't all the motherfucking same. And in that situation, am I here to save everybody? Fuck no. But I'm here to build better systems that can give our people better opportunities? Fuck yeah. Am I here to make human beings perfect? Fuck, it's not possible. So cut that goddamn shit out, right? But also, am I here to live a life of love? But why do I practice love so much? It's not because I just want to love y'all. It's because when I love y'all, I love myself. And when I love myself, it heals me. And it keeps me from falling into all these little traps of depression and self-destruction and all these other fucking things, right? When I walk around smiling and seeing value in people, it makes the world pretty to me. When I walked around and I was mad about the world and everything, the world was hella ugly to me. And when the world's ugly to you, that's a weight you carry on your shoulder that makes you almost fucking depressed and want to kill yourself. So at the end of the day, it always comes back to me. And so the reason I want you to link that back next week, I want you to bring it back, but I want you to link it to you. Specifically, what do you fear? Because once you gain power of that, and you can remind yourself when you've fallen off that cliff, I promise you it's like the coldest booster you've ever had.
So the stability was not, you're saying that that's not what my fear is?
You had so much noise in there. Narrow it down. You gave me you had a long beginning. Am I lying, everybody? Did you hear it? So probably you win a loan entry and a loan closure, and there's so much there. If I was a lawyer, I would have to just interrogate you to get to like a narrow point.
Honestly, I answered, I don't know. And when I was thinking about the fear part, it's because I'm still figuring out who I am, because I'm in the starting process of healing from what I've been holding on to for all these years. So now that I'm able to see things in a more beautiful way, I'm not looking at sports so negative or what I've been through. Like, I'm not doing the whole blame game and all that stuff.
Tight.
I feel like I'm an infant in a new perspective of how to see the world. And so with that, I'm not struggling, but figuring out how to not be a jack of all trades, because now I'm excited, like, well, should I do athletics or should I do finance, or how can I bridge the gap between financial literacy and athletics, and at what stage? And so I feel like I'm still learning who I am and what role can I play that I don't feel like I'm giving too much of myself away like I did before.
So okay, so let me give you some. There is some fear space for you that still. I think all three of you guys. I'm gonna call y'all the noise club, right? Because you add a lot of noise. What I mean about noise, you add a lot of details in there. That it, noise is that if you have somebody that's playing on key, but you have a whole bunch of people around them playing all kind of different notes, to the ear it sounds like noise, even though all you guys could be playing different keys perfectly, right? So you can have perfect points, but when you combine all those points together, it comes off kind of noisy, right? There's value there, and there's some still value of fear that you still have in that conversation, because even when you're trying to be a jack of all trades, or how you've been proceeding to this point, you may have made a strategy move that might have been wrong, but you have a truthful fear, and that truthful fear is honest. So, for example, I remember I first started my business. When you walk away from corporate America, that's a sense of certainty that you have to a space of uncertainty. So all I can imagine is just falling off a cliff and slamming my ass on the ground. I could just imagine that shit as clear as all the doors, right? And then I said to myself, well, the worst thing that can happen is I'll sleep on my mother's couch for a little while. Once I just accepted that fear, and then I accepted the fear that, okay, well, why do you want to do this? And as I started to articulate my fears clearly, I can translate into something positive. But once I'm also to put my fears into context too, I'm not gonna die. It's not over. Me and Court was just talking about, we're over 40. I'm gonna do that nicely to him. I'm over 50, but he's over 40. And, he's like 40 and a half. And so, so he was saying, he looked good though, by the way, over 40, right? He still looks like that young rapper. Anyway, point is this. And so the thing is that he said he was going through this thing where his body was, he had got sick. Then he had to go work out, but his muscles was like, he's like, well, maybe I need to just slow down. And his brain was telling him like, yeah, you're getting older now. You probably just need to rest a little bit more. He told his brain, fuck you, dude. No, that's not true. It's just absolutely not true. And so he had to remind himself of who he was and where he's going. He had to be truly in touch with himself to tell his mind, no, we're going to work out. And he forced himself to work out to eventually get back into rhythm, right? But his brain, which we see this amongst all of our peers, they're so disconnected from themselves that their fears and that voice starts to become too dominant and starts to build their limitations on who they can and cannot be, right? But the more you're in touch with your fears and your concerns and who you are and where you are and what is true, what's not true, you're able to push yourself past certain obstacles that may be supported by your peers. And so just this fear exercise is part of last week's exercise in class, how I told you your time, attention, money, how when you're on the internet, what steals all your attention? Your fears. It steals it, right? And so if you see how how the media is stealing your fears based upon last week's exercise, now you can understand why it's important to know what those are. If you don't know what they are, you walk around, yeah, the media's trying to steal my fears, and you still prostituting your fears because you don't know what the fuck they are.
Can I jump in?
Go ahead.
So for the last three group of women who talked, there was a definite common theme. And I want to say this, just as something thought-provoking, is that if you grew up in an environment where you were expected to be the one, right? Expected to be the one, whether the smartest, the fastest, the best, the most athletic, the most successful, whatever, that pressure from your environment, which could be good, but you were expected to be the one. You were so smart. You were so athletic. You were so good. You were so of the group. A lot of times when you enter a milestone in your life where failure is in front of you, the ego and some of your worst fears can be just failure, letting people down, letting the group down, letting the crowd that expects you to be popping down. Or what about the haters? I'm gonna prove the haters right. All those are fears. And if not managed correctly, then those could drive you into doing stupid ass shit because you're not thinking from a space of where you want to be. You're thinking from a place of, oh man, what I'm going to look like if I'm all dusty now and I'm on EBT or I don't have no money or whatever, and I'm back on my mama's couch. Now I'm going to prove everybody right, or everybody expected me to be the one to take them out the hood and now I didn't. That will fuck you up. It will fuck you up.
Yeah, I seen the other day I was running a seminary, and the first day I joined the seminary, I saw this real pretty woman get out the car, and she put a grill out. Mind you, this is a bad sister, and she put a grill out. Not grill like teeth out. I'm talking about a grill. I know, I know it's 20. Wait. All right, age gap. Fuck what y'all heard. Nobody at my age group, we don't wear grills like that. I don't even wear no goddamn grill. No, she had a grill, like a actual iron grill, right? Y'all funny as hell. I swear to God. So I love y'all. I love y'all beyond your imagination. So she pulled out the iron grill, and she was in a nice little Jeep or something like that. So I was like, okay. So I drive out there the next day, and I guess her boyfriend's up there, and he's like a nicely cut beard, muscular dude. Had to be look like he's around maybe late 20s, early 30s, but looked like an athlete type build dude, right? But well dressed, big old beard. And they be on the corner on Seminary right by the gas station before you go on the freeway, selling hot dogs. I fucking love them. I was with my son today. I said, yo, I fucking ride with. I don't even eat pork. I might just start buying hot dogs and just throw the shit out the car. I give it to a homeless person down the street, because simple fact that to me that's just amazing. It's like the humility, it's just whether it's to subsidize bills, whether it's that's his only source of income, whether it's my child's going to school and I just need some extra cash. I don't give a fuck what it is. We've gotten so back to his status thing. We're so concerned about our image. We won't even exploit opportunities because we're too busy trying to think about what people think. We're worried about what people think about us and don't even think about us. They're too busy thinking about themselves. I ride a Harley, and I told him I'm gonna ask him to come up here one day. And there's a dude named Money Rob. He puts music in all the Harleys, right? Money Rob works out of his garage. This cat business is banging. This cat, I went to his house the other day. The cat done put a car lift in his backyard. I got 2 cars on top, 1 on the bottom. He does everybody's Harley motorcycle. He does, his marketing on social media is fire. Regular hood dude came from East Palo Alto, from the gang culture, did some time, came out, learned how to build music motorcycles. He's been growing. He wasn't that good when he first started. He fucked up a couple bikes. Now he's pretty damn good, right? And he's constantly getting better. And he's hungry to learn. But if you see his marketing and his social media campaign, his YouTube game, his Facebook, his Instagram game, how he's getting down, the cat is doing relatively fucking financially to the point that like his savings, his resources are strong as fuck. And he's having a great life. And I watch these people who like don't worry about what you think about them. And here's the thing, when a hot dog dude blows up, oh, y'all all gonna be like, yeah, I remember him. He was hella tight. Now you want to be hella cool with him. You want to act like I was the first person there, right? But many of you guys would not have the bravery and the humility to take that path. And to me, that's the kind of shit that's just fucking amazing.
All right. So for my goals, I want to be living where I want with my friends around me and figuring out what's my next mission or adventure. And then the fear thing is tied in it is because I really, because it's fuck everyone and everything that wants to control what I want. But the fear that's really tied to it is because I can't say fuck you, like walk away from my job or walk away, like that fear of having someone control me or having their will dominated over me, over what I want.
That's very close. But it's still, there's one more layer beneath that, which is, so you gotta give yourself a little bit more. First of all, you look way older than your voice sound. I was like, this is a young brother, but you got a full man look. Oh, yo, you in your 20s? Well, you look good then. Fuck it, man. Hey, man, you got a life of choices. This brother, you look goddamn good. If y'all at home seeing this brother, y'all be like, goddamn, whatever he eating, y'all need to get his diet. But it's a level deeper than that. Because you have to ask yourself, if you said fuck this and they did abandon you, it could be a fear of abandonment. It could be a fear of why is that important? Because when you get to the sea, you can see more branches. But if you stop too early, you have less branches, but there's other branches beneath that are impacting you that you can't see no more, right? So the more you can get to the seed of what that fear is, right? So that's pretty damn close. I'm talking about, you almost got only one, you almost probably got 2 more feet to go, right? Three says the noises. I'm just gonna call you that just for the night. Don't be getting sensitive. But the noises, they only got 6 feet to go, but you got about 2 more feet to go. And the question comes down to like, once you tap into like, yo, I don't want to be abandoned, or I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to ever be that, right? And then you can even ask yourself, well, wouldn't that start in my life? What happened? And that will unlock more for you than you can even imagine. It'll unlock so much for you because then it gives you, it actually, when you take that fear, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and turn it around and use it as your own power, it becomes your thrusters. And all of a sudden, when other people quit, and you're like, you hear the story about basketball players, they say, the reason a lot of white boys don't make it to the NBA, they don't have poverty at their back. So the black kid knows if I don't make it here, I ain't got no choices. And that fear of having nowhere to go makes it real as fuck for him. But the white kid knows, well, if I don't make it here, I can go to Wall Street. I'm good. Shit, who gives a fuck? I got family, I got friends, I got structure, I got loans, all kind of shit. So then the black kid exceeds, and then we get this idea, oh, black kids are better than white kids in basketball. Well, it's incentives, right? And so the more you're honest about those incentives, which that basketball player quite often is reminding himself, I can't go back. So when the coach says, okay, go for another 2 hours, he really wants to say, fuck off, I'm out of here, and who the fuck you talking to? But he's thinking about, I'm going back home to that shit? I can't do that shit, right? So that honesty allows you to know when to use it, when to align it. Like once you control it, it becomes a superpower. But when you don't control it, it becomes something that can abuse you. Or it can something that can distract you. And you're like, I don't understand, why the fuck I keep making these bad decisions? Because your fear was being tapped over here and you didn't know it was being tapped. Or let's say you're in a relationship and a person says something to you that really pisses you off, but it didn't really piss you off because of what they actually said or the outcome of what they said. It was the fear they tapped into that you wasn't even aware of. So just being aware of that, but you're really fucking close. If you just take it one more level down, you're right there. All right, so next week, if we can explore it, you want to hit yours too, Kaja? I could tell you just, this last one, because go ahead, Kaja, go one more. This last one. Go ahead, Kaja. Online, I'm sorry, y'all. If you've seen some of your fears, hopefully this is like the calibration of this by us having back and forth. And by the way, thank y'all all for participating in this because you guys, for like the 80 to 100 people online, you guys are actually helping them process it by your answers because all your answers were good answers. It's just that I'm pushing you to go further because I want you guys to learn how to use this fear thing for your own tool, not have it used against you. But go ahead, Kaja.
My goal is I want a food and travel show on KQED.
A food and travel show on what?
On KQED.
Okay, I heard. Okay, well, shit, you know what channel and everything, but go ahead. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, what's the fear that drives it?
The fear is because it's a front-facing venture. I don't have all my shit together yet, and so if you get front-facing success before you get it together, everybody will see that you don't have it together.
You're also missing it. You're too
like
high.
hiding.
Yeah, you're about 6-7 feet up. Like so, they might be 6 feet. You might 8 feet high. You got a couple more feet to go. Keep diving deeper on that. I need you guys once again. And I get where you're going with that. Nobody did it. Okay, you guys don't have a flaw in thinking. There's nobody had a dumb answer or a flaw in thinking. Let's not get. I hate that whole stigma that hangs over these type of dialogues. Right? Nobody's flawed. Nobody has mental illness. Nobody missed the point. Right? We don't realize how much fear is in our lives, period. And we have layers of fear. So it's not that you guys can tap a fear. I just want you guys to get close to the nucleus, which that fear that you gave is associated with the deeper nucleus fear. It's not that it doesn't exist. There's just something underneath that can also have effects over here, over here, over here, over here, over here, over here. And I don't think you understand how much it's going to steal your attention from you. Remember, black people, focus on money, time, attention. Powerful people focus on time, attention, money. Attention is a very, 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 very valuable resource. And fear is a number one drainer of your attention. And so if you're not aware of that, then you'll find yourself giving that attention. And what you give attention to is what you become. So your fear is critical. You being understanding what's happening with your fear allows you to also start to gain control over your attention, which then can start getting control over what your future life turns out to be. But you can dream about being whatever the fuck you want to be. But if your attention is being prostituted towards your fears, you'll die with that same dream. So that's why it's important. Because I believe everybody in this room, whoever you want to be, the world's so fucking big, we all can be that easily, right? But the question comes down to, do you have access to your own attention? Which is, do you have control of your own fears? Just be aware. And control doesn't mean you can stop them. You're just aware of them. You have access to them. Then you'll realize, okay, I probably shouldn't watch this because it's going to tap into my fears. I probably shouldn't go over here. Or now I see why I'm addicted to this person here because they give me I don't really find this person attractive or valuable. It's just that they comfort me from my fears. All right, let's jump into some real shit. I mean, that wasn't real shit, but I'm going to get more real shit. Ain't going to never stop getting real in here. First slide. Shabisha, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's fire it up.
I am. Okay.
So we're going to start with this little story first. Stick with the story, and then we're going to go somewhere with this. Go ahead, go.
8 miles underwater on the seafloor of the Pacific Ocean, just off the coast of Japan, a seismic slip rupture event took place on March 11th, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
It moved the Japanese main island 8 feet eastward and generated a tsunami that reached the coast 1 hour later,
Shit.
killing roughly 18,000 people.
So this is in Japan. You remember that? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
The tsunami also was higher than the wall that was built to protect the nuclear power plant in Fukushima. The province was flooded with water, and the world's news was flooded with fear of physical harm and radioactive contamination.
So once again, let's slow this down real quick. So the tsunami is real, flood's real, nuclear compromise was real. But what hit us harder was the fear that came from the media of Fukushima. This is important because I want you guys to make the connection as we tell this story. I want you to pay attention to the George Floyd's, police brutality, racism stories in the news, Donald Trump, COVID. I just want you to pay attention to this. So what flooded after Fukushima was the media came in with the fear-based communication. Next slide.
People escaped the province as fast as they could, but 1,600 more people died. It was not the leaking radioactivity that killed them.
So when you hear 1,600 more people died after Fukushima got hit, if you walk away from that, you think, oh shit, what happened? Was it the water? Was it radiation? Was it some people just became contaminated, got caught cancer and died off? So it's kind of builds up a beautiful story, right? Keep going.
Not one person has yet been reported as having died from the very thing that people were fleeing from.
So in 2000, I think this book was written 2016, 2017, the time Fukushima happened, not one person had died from what everybody assumed everybody would die from. Keep going.
These 1,600 people died because they escaped. They were mainly old people who died because of the mental and physical stresses of the evacuation itself or of life in evacuation shelters.
So just recently, I'm working with Luna Health in San Francisco, and they were saying they had to move 650 people, and no one died. It was a major feat. Right, to move elderly people is dangerous as fuck. It might be their last move. So when they say 1,600 people died, like they did in COVID, when they told these numbers, without you having data, all I'm doing is drumming up fear, right? Keep going. Or even though when I say the trans, the blacks, the gays, the Latinos, the Asian, right? What the fuck does that mean? What number are you talking about? All I'm doing is drumming up fear, right? Drumming up negativity and fear. But keep going.
It wasn't radioactivity, but the fear of radioactivity that killed them. Even after the worst ever nuclear accident, Chernobyl, in 1986, when most people expected a huge increase in the death rate, the WHO investigators could not confirm this, even among those living in the area.
So the fear killed more people, was killing people more than the actual incident after it happened. So once it happened, so many people died because of, tsunami's real. But afterwards, the fear had more damaging impact, which we're gonna get to some beautiful stuff tonight, than the actual incident itself. Keep going, next one slide.
In the 1940s, a new wonder chemical was discovered that killed many annoying insects. Farmers were so happy. People fighting malaria were so happy. DDT was sprayed over crops, across swamps, and in homes with little investigation of its side effects. DDT's creator won a Nobel Prize.
So real quick, DDT, this is important. So this incident that happened, DDT, which is, chemicals sprayed over your food, this organic movement that we're in today, the whole food movement, Trader Joe's movement, no vaccine movement, is less linked to Tuskegee than it's linked to the DDT movement. That became the no vaccine, not trusting government, the chemical movement. It's called the chemical phobia. The chemophobia started in this culture. It hasn't always been around. It started from this is the actual initiator of all the fears where people talking about, I don't trust doctors and maybe we should try this, and all the street medicines and street doctors we now have, and that a lot of this comes from the DDT movement. Keep going.
During the 1950s, the early environmental movement in the United States started to raise concerns about levels of DDT accumulating up the food chain into fish and even birds. The great popular science writer, Rachel Carson, reported her finding that the shells of bird eggs in her area were becoming thinner in Silent Spring.
So this is how they said DDT was poisonous to humans, because the shells of the eggs were becoming thinner based upon a single report. Keep going.
A book that became a global bestseller.
By the way, her book became a bestseller. So she made a claim, no research, no verification, but because people had fears and a new chemical. The way human beings, when the car was first made, human beings feared it. When radio was first made, human beings fear anything massively created. The one-size-fits-all inventions, human beings, they didn't like the cell phone when it first came out. Right? Remember, you use a cell phone, everybody should be with cancer right now, right? You remember Y2K?
Yes.
Like all this shit is, I just want you to understand, fear and culture is a powerful fucking thing. I got paid hella money because of Y2K when I was younger. Oh, I love that shit. I wish we get another, I was living like a king on Y2K. Ain't shit happened. Anyway, go ahead.
The idea that humans were allowed to spread invisible substances to kill bugs, and authorities were looking away from any signs of the wider impact on other animals or on humans, was of course frightening.
Next.
A fear of insufficient regulation and of irresponsible companies was ignited, and the global environmental movement was born.
There you go. Global environmental movement was born from this. This is. I want you guys to, this shit ain't always been around. This shit ain't not old. This ain't it's been here thousands of years. It might have been here since you've been around, because many of y'all wasn't born in the 50s or born in the 40s or 30s to recognize it. So many of you guys don't realize that this hasn't always been here. Keep rolling.
Thanks to this movement and to further contamination scandals involving oil spills, plantation workers disabled by pesticides, nuclear reactor failures, the world today has decent chemical and safety regulations covering many countries, though still not close to the impressive coverage of the aviation industry. DDT was banned in several countries, and aid agencies had to stop using it.
Keep going.
But as a side effect, we have been left with a level of public fear of chemical contamination that almost resembles paranoia. It's called chemophobia.
That's it.
This means that a fact-based understanding of topics like childhood vaccinations, nuclear power, and DDT is still extremely difficult today. The memory of insufficient regulation has created automatic mistrust and fear, which blocks the ability to hear data-driven arguments. I will try anyway.
So let me see. Remember I told you guys before we got started, culture trumps strategy. So if the culture develops a fear, chances of that shit actually working and people moving forward is insane. Absolutely insane. There's people right now who would argue over chemicals on food, but also will not argue that arguments are malnutrition. And so this unrealistic fear of food or chemicals or vaccines is so intensified. Don't get me wrong. If they said your uncle came with a vaccine last week and should you use it, I'd be like, okay, I'm not hearing this, right? But the reality is that we would not be here today without vaccines. It just is what it is. I know it's uncomfortable. I know y'all feel like I just shit on the graves of Tuskegee. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm trying to argue with you is that the fear started before Tuskegee. Tuskegee just happened to be a great story that fits the narrative. But if you look at where did that fear come from, where did that movement come from? So all these organic people that you see at Whole Foods, they're living a culture of fear more than the actual fact. I say this again. Whole Foods have built a whole business. I want y'all to pay attention to this because this ain't about right and wrong. There's a whole fear-based system created from the DDT movement, and a company called Whole Foods, which is now Amazon, is cashing out. Let's keep going.
In a devastating example of critical thinking gone bad, highly educated, deeply caring parents avoid the vaccinations that would protect their children from killer diseases. I love critical thinking and I admire skepticism, but only within a framework that respects the evidence.
That's it. That's it right there. Go ahead.
So if you are skeptical about the measles vaccination, I ask you to do two things. First, make sure you know what it looks like when a child dies from the measles.
So let me see this real quick. A lot of times people who are running around as activists, they don't think about the other sides of their arguments. They make all these claims about what's wrong with the world, whatever. So like we was talking about this earlier, defund the police came at the worst time ever because the hope of America dropped because of COVID. COVID was it damaged everybody's hope. When human beings lose hope, crime goes up. That's just what it is. It ain't bad people versus good people. It's my hope is gone and I'm an animal. And anything, when you lower the hope on a human animal, we become a little more dangerous. We start robbing and stealing if we have to. If we were already close to the bottom and now we beneath the cracks, we ain't gonna stay beneath the cracks for long. And you're not about to eat a sandwich in front of me and I haven't eaten all day. It ain't gonna happen that easy, right? So then you say defund the police, right? Well, that's cool. I understand what your intent was, but you think about the other side. You think about other neighborhoods where maybe sometimes police is keeping a fragile situation stable. In some cases, if 175 cops, anytime you build a large system of a lot of people, you ain't gonna have 100% participation of good people or smart people or perfect rationalization. Because sometimes you can have bad rationalization and be a good person and shit just turns out all bad. But at the end of the day, when you say defund the police, you're not thinking about, well, what happens if you defund them? What would that look like? And then the same people say defund the police, what system are you gonna put in place? Because crime ain't just going away. Just like if I said, let's get rid of all pimps. Prostitution and hoeing ain't going away. You have to go a little bit further and go to, well, what about molestation? We gotta keep digging deeper in that hole, but don't just start saying, or like, I talked about this in Oakland, when we had the big dope dealers, they kept the drugs concentrated in certain areas. They kept it under control, and they kept values and morals and structure. Well, you chop off Felix Mitchell's and all these top dudes, and the soldiers become top dudes, and they don't give a fuck. Now they ride and die, and now neighborhoods that never had dope is done with dope. Am I advocating for dope dealers? Nope. But what I'm saying is that life is so fucking complex. You just can't come with these simple model answers without looking at it from 360 degrees. So you say, oh, I don't believe in vaccines. Okay. Do you understand what you're saying, or you just got a feeling and emotion? That's very important, because fear removes your ability to be rational. Remember that. Just remember that. Keep going.
Most children who catch measles recover, but there is still no cure, and even with the best modern medicine, 1 or 2 in every 1,000 will die of it. Second, ask yourself, what kind of evidence would convince me to change my mind?
Yes, important.
If the answer is no evidence could ever change my mind about vaccination.
Stop. If you say to yourself, nothing can ever change my mind by anything you believe, you're no longer thinking. If you say there's no evidence out there that can change my mind, you have stopped thinking. You are completely a victim of your emotion or your animal instinct. So that's something you have to always be aware of. When you get to the point you're like, there's nothing you can say to me. I'm convinced this is what it is. You stop thinking. And unfortunately, if you get into this business game, that's not a good move to make. That costs a lot of money. Keep going.
Then you are putting yourself outside evidence-based rationality, outside the very critical thinking that first brought you to this point. In that case, to be consistent in your skepticism about science, next time you have an operation, please ask your surgeon not to bother washing her hands.
Oops. Yeah, you got a little sensitive there. Go ahead. Next. So before we go forward, there is a difference between science and scientists. Recently, we turned scientists into a cultist movement. Scientists said this. Scientists said, what the fuck you mean scientists said? Who the fuck you talking about? Which one said? How many of them agree? Where was it published? What kind of research? Can I see the research that was done on it? How many studies, how many sample sizes do they have? We've taken the word scientists and used it to armor our argument that actually has no value, right? You see it on television's been doing it late at night all the time. Scientists said that if you'd use this weight trimmer, that in 6 months you'd be thin as hell. You could continue to eat at McDonald's every day, you'd be all right. Yeah, no, right? So, but science, the art of science, is a rigorous process that gets you as close to truth as possible, but never ever says absolutely it's the absolute truth, because they're always looking to disprove what they already know. That's what science, real science is. This absolute, nothing can argue with it, it's just the facts and that's the way it is. They just recently found that vitamin D doesn't help your bones. All these years, I don't grew up on vitamin D. Helps your body. They said, no, they actually found out it's not true. But that's science goal, is to prove itself wrong, not to go around and try to argue how right. So there is a big difference, and some people weaponize the word science. But real science is a way of thinking that I'm telling you in business, you have to subscribe to it. Because once again, your own personal rationalization quite often won't serve you. Because go back to what I said earlier, it's not what you believe, it's what do I have to believe? What do I have to believe to move this system forward? Because your belief quite often is what's stopping you from moving your system forward. So science is the study of, is you examining your belief from every possible angle to say, hey, when can this belief be wrong? And in that discovery, like I said, you go to your business meeting not trying to come up with the perfect answer. You go to your business meeting trying to come up with the perfect question. Because as you learn to question even your beliefs, you learn variations and you improve your strategy, your strategical thinking. You got that? This is crazy. Shit's crazy. Keep going.
More than 1,000 old people died escaping from a nuclear leak that killed no one.
So let me say, what'd you say there?
More than 1,000 old people died escaping from a nuclear leak that killed no one.
Ooh, go ahead.
DDT is harmful, but I have been unable to find numbers showing that it has directly killed anyone either. The harm investigations that were not done in the 1940s have been done now.
So, you know, people say, these pesticides is going to give us cancer. Ask those people, well, can you tell me how that works? That's where it breaks down. Can you tell me how do people catch cancers? What do doctors know about cancers at this point? What is the research that actually stands from credible sources on how the human body develops cancer? And then I want you to link it back to DDT and watch how the answer goes. It just all the air just comes out the room. You look like you're a smart ass. But why you need to ask that question? Because that's the question you need to ask yourself before you adopt that fucking belief. Because the person who gave you the belief was a loved one or somebody you trusted. So you just automatically transfer that trust and you accepted their point without ever saying, how the fuck do I know that? Like the ladies asked me, we was asking some questions about Roe versus Wade. And I told the ladies, I can't answer those questions because I'm still learning about it in the most depth to the point that anything I would argue right now would just be opinion based and it would not help the argument at all. But if I'm really trying to move something forward, well, why do I have that discipline? It's not because I'm fucking disciplined and I just want to be a right guy all the time or fall on the right side. It's because when you're running a business and you're controlling other people's lives, you can't afford to be impulsive like that. You just can't. Go ahead.
You know what I was thinking about? As you grow and start locking this type of psychology in, I think about when you watch a horror movie back in the day, and when white folks are in a horror movie and they hear the little creaking sounds, right? Mm-hmm. Black people say, "What the fuck you doing? Get the fuck out of there!" And the white person says, "What is that?" And they go investigate because they're curious. Because the probability of it being some supernatural shit is so low that of course it has to be something explainable. So I'm gonna check it out. What makes it scary to us is because we hear the noise, we make assumptions, we dip. Our psychology will change when we watch those movies and like, that's about right. You should go investigate. And it's a weird thing to think about, but it's true.
First of all, that plan. I love the word dip. I love the way he's breaking down. He's using such brilliance, and he drops the word dip in there so smooth. I was like, this motherfucker should write his own book. Fuck what you heard. And a dip. Yeah, that's real. Like, and it's that fear of the unknown, right? Go back to that earlier when I said that if you're a leader, you must remind yourself that you're leading people into uncertainty, right? If you use his example, what he just gave you, what do they do? What did black people do when they deal with uncertainty? I dip. That's not leadership. But these are cultural things that's written into our culture that's anti-leadership, anti-scaling. Your job is to take a grip of uncertainty. That means you're going to go back and go, what does that sound? I need to know what's going on. You're going to use scientific thinking and curiosity and tools to examine. You're not going to say, well, you know what? I don't want to know. I know what my mama told me. I know what it is. Because then you end up repeating the same oppressive patterns that were passed down. You don't know the flaws of your thinking because a lot of it came through warmth and community. But you never ask yourself, well, why is my community suffering? Is it external or internal? And you don't realize that where those thoughts come from. And if you think slavery was over and those thoughts just kind of, no, Jim Crow picked up and said, let's keep this shit right into 72. And you think those ideas just, now they're cool ideas that we laugh at, just like how hip hop argues some pathetic ideas, but we all sing and sometimes we even repeat some of that stupid shit because it's wrapped in something that's sweet and kind and lovely. McDonald's feel good to kids. It's shit food, but it feels good. It's wrapped so motherfucking well. Chicken nuggets is wrapped like it's the thing to eat every fucking day, right? But the reality is that you gotta start getting to a point where you develop a discipline to cut through the layers of passed down family ideas and cultural ideas that's undermining your personal desires. And that's why this shit is so important. Let's keep going.
In 2002, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention produced a 497-page document named Toxicological Profile for DDT, DDE, and DDD.
So by the way, DDT that was originally created has been off the market. They're now into more advanced form of pesticides. They're so much better. But what happened was the culture around it is so strong, no one even gives a fuck. Keep going.
In 2006, the World Health Organization finally finished reviewing all the scientific investigations and, just like the CDC, classified DDT as mildly harmful to humans, stating that it had more health benefits than drawbacks in many situations.
Have you seen motherfuckers who won't eat, or eat organic but won't exercise? Motherfuckers who eat organic and damn near pre-diabetic or diabetic, eat organic cookies and shit. I want low keto, non-organic cookies. But for that's still sugar. I don't eat white sugar. I don't eat brown sugar. But so much of it though. Y'all see where I'm going with this shit? That organic shit got us fucked up. I promise you, if the same people that went to Whole Foods went to the gym, I wouldn't even get on a motherfucking machine. There'd be more gyms. Look at the. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Do y'all once y'all see how mass bad ideas can spread it? You can go back and look at a lot of shit and realize how quickly it's spread and it has poor thought behind it. Alcohol, marijuana, certain degrees of hip hop. Hip hop in its early stage was the voice of the community unheard. Some of this shit is what the fuck we talking about now. And what draws you in is the drama. If I could rap drama in words, your animal instinct can't resist it. I don't know if you remember R&B didn't cuss a lot. And I think it was Mary J. Blige cussed on some song. And everybody's like, ooh, I like that song. You hear what she said? And now you can't only find an R&B song that don't be like, I don't even repeat the words, I almost said some shit. But R&B songs be so intense, she'd be like, I don't know if I love you anymore after this fucking song. Shit. Right? It just feels like I just need to have, okay, let me keep going. I'm getting myself in trouble. My wife does watch once in a while. The next one. Go ahead.
DDT should be used with great caution, but there are pros and cons. In refugee camps teeming with mosquitoes, for example, DDT is often one of the quickest and cheapest ways to save lives. Improvements in regulations have been driven not by death rates, but by fear. And in some cases, Fukushima, DDT, fear of an invisible substance has run amok and is doing more harm than the substance itself.
So when it first came out, scientists did not mess with the fear because it's like, well, people should eat better, so leave it alone, right? But then they realized that, oh, wait a minute, it's going too far. But at this point, the cat's out the bag. Keep going.
The environment is deteriorating in many parts of the world, but just as dramatic earthquakes receive more news coverage than diarrhea.
But mind you, diarrhea kills more people than earthquakes by far. Go ahead.
Small but scary chemical contaminations receive more news coverage than more harmful but less dramatic environmental deteriorations, such as the dying seabed and the urgent matter of overfishing.
That has more damaging to our survival than fucking, like, so you look at the energy, how many people spend money for organic, and you see how, like Safeway, I don't know if you guys went to Safeway one night and try to buy some shit organic, they done there double the price. And some people will spend that money like, well, I believe I want to live. I want to take care of myself. I buy what I need to buy, right? But the shit that really matters, once again, fear is redirecting your choices and your resources and your decision making. This is an example of how these movements have shifted our interest towards, there's more attention and conversations around, if it hits the news, non-organic, organic, or pesticides, that instant grabs your attention. Somebody says, hey, the overfishing or the seabed or the coastal, what's that, that's dying? Coral. No one gives a shit about that. No one's listening to that. You ain't never drove to the hood, somebody says, say the dying seabeds. You ain't even see shit in Oakland. You see that shit in Oakland, you're like, who the fuck left this up on the wall? Who got money to paint this shit up? But if somebody says, remove the pesticides from our foods, you be like, I'm gonna do a poem about this shit. All right, let's keep going. I'm not gonna jump on up because there's still some social justice people in class that's working on themselves. I don't want to make them feel that bad tonight. I don't want them drinking some non-organic alcohol. Go ahead.
Chemophobia also means that every 6 months there is a new scientific finding about a synthetic chemical found in regular food in very low quantities that if you ate a cargo ship or two of it every day for 3 years could kill you. At this point, highly educated people put on their worried faces and discuss it over a glass of red wine.
That's real shit. I trust me. Go hang out with rich folks and the mate of the rich person, and they have their parties. This is what the fuck they talk about. I promise you on everything. Keep going.
The zero death toll seems to be of no interest in these discussions. The level of fear seems entirely driven by the chemical nature of the invisible substance. Now let's move to the latest number one fear in the West.
Keep going.
If there's one group of people who have fully understood the power of the fear instinct, it's not journalists, it's terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
The clue is in their name. Fear is what they aim for. And they succeed by tapping into all our primitive fears of physical harm, of being trapped, of being poisoned or contaminated.
By the way, this is how the distortion or the hallucination of white supremacy works. That's how it works. If I can just make you fear it, it works. It doesn't have to be true. KKK can't come to East Oakland. I would love to see that happen because I get a chance to do some target practice. It's not gonna happen, right? It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen, right? But there's folks in East Oakland still talking about the KKK. In East Oakland, you're talking about the KKK. KKK won't even they're not even thinking about, but if they can just push their fears to the radio, to the television, to the TV, to the educational systems, guess what? I got you still in a state of mind acting like you just came out, this is 1873. It's real talk. A lot of you guys will say, like the sister said earlier on the King last week, she said, they won't let us have anything. In East Oakland, they don't even see you, bro. They don't see you. If you made $3 million in East Oakland, I don't think the IRS will see you, being strictly honest with you. The game in the Bay Area, the game is way bigger. White folks are playing $1 trillion games. You make $1 million, you know damn well if you made $1 million a year in the hood, you have a life of all greatness. You wouldn't even wash your own feet anymore. Come on, let's keep it real. My toenails be so pretty. I don't. Right? Let's keep it real. That's how far the money goes in the hood, right? Let's keep it 100. But yet we're talking about this force, but the way the force have access to us, not because they're actually touching you and not because they actually causing it, it's the fear from the stories that come to your mind that's being reinforced, that's been passed down. And to this day, you think you in 1962 and Bull Connor is the city mayor of Oakland. Let's keep it rolling.
Terrorism is one of the exceptions to the global trends discussed in Chapter 2 on negativity. It is getting worse. So are you right to be very scared of it? Well, first of all, it accounted for 0.05% of all deaths in the world in 2016. So probably not.
So if we had the same thing with police brutality, probably not. We talk about racism and white supremacy, probably not. If you talk about all the things that now, could we argue that poor schools came from systemic racism? Yes. But I'm gonna teach you a deeper principle later on, that if the system of racism creates something, in order for that system to stay alive, the people who are victimized by it must keep it alive. So they created Castlemont, which is systemic racism. But the people who surround it keep it alive, and they keep it, send their kids to it, keep it alive. So in theory, our fear has more value on how we're directing our emotions, our feelings, our time, our interests. So instead of us like, okay, if we were really healthy, many of us would be spending time at Castlemont with our children. Or even if they ain't your children, they're your children. Because when they grow up, they could be your problem, right? So many of us would be there. But many of us ran our ass downtown of Oakland and tore up the city, and allowed other cats to tear up the city while we held our signs, Black Lives Matter, asking white people, you get where I'm going with this? We redirected all of our resources once again, and a lot of our perceptions of the numbers of what's happening against us, just how this country was tripping really hard on terrorism, and they shifted billions of dollars towards terrorism prevention. We did the same thing in our form of terror, because black people terrorism is white supremacy. And so we're shifting, we have an unhealthy relationship to white supremacy and we over amplified it. So now I even have people talk to me like, yeah, no, I'm a brother on the street. They just walk up to me off the streets and be like, no, I want to be with 5T Media because I also believe that white supremacy is, I'm like, whoa, wait, what? Nana believes that business is about resistance and obstacles. And our job is to get around them. The glorification of them make them greater than what they really are. I'm not saying that some of these systems don't exist. I find it very hard that there's not a white person that doesn't make a decision that's not racist. Of course they do. Who gives a fuck? It's part of it. But run a successful company and think that you don't get automatically company-cism. Everybody's gonna resist you from your own employees. Your job is to get past all the resistance, not to sit down and be like, motherfucking people gonna not buy my products because they talking about my shit come too fast and it's not fair to little small motherfuckers on the block. You know what I'm saying? I'm Amazon, motherfucker. What's wrong with y'all? That's not real. The reality is Amazon got resistance. Walmart got resistance. Home Depot got resistance. We're in a resistance game. We know that. I'm not trying to remove that, say there is no racism. I'm saying it's over amplified and it's become a fear factor that's causing us to misdirect a lot of our important resources. That's what it is. Vote or die. Really? Do you realize we in a federation, y'all? In a federation, feds don't really fuck with your local like that. It's municipal. So you just about vote and die. Where's the vote or die when all the new propositions hit the land? Did y'all pay attention to that? When we were talking about Biden, everybody, vote or die, vote or die, vote or die. Our ancestors died for the vote. We shall overcome. Right? And then the motherfucking propositions came out and local votes, and black folks like, hey man, what's this shit about right here? Should I say yes or no? Ain't that a bitch? You can't sit around Biden, but also the shit that really matters, because you're more impacted by municipal than you are by federal, but in your brain, somebody used fear to flip the switch on you, now you backwards, ass backwards. Keep riding. Oh, your microphone off. There you go.
Second, it depends where you live.
Okay, let's keep going.
The result.
So, okay, he said second. When he said second, it depends on where you live. That does matter. There are people who are under the thumb of some oppression, right? I'm not saying, once again, this is not it's not an either or. It's shifting the weight, knowing when it applies, critical thinking, right? Not just saying, I know brilliant people right now who are frozen in their tracks because of their discomfort with racism, sexism, homophobia. I remember being we were working on an HIV project in San Francisco, and I went to this party discussing the progress of PrEP, which is a medication that prevents somebody from catching HIV. Well, it reduces the chance of you catching HIV. And I heard these group of men complaining about homophobia in San Francisco. And I said, fuck it, they're gonna be mad at me today. I said, what the fuck y'all complaining about? This is San Francisco. What the fuck you talking about? This is controlled by the gay community. What the fuck? I didn't say you say, hey, I went to Oakland, East Oakland, and some shit. Even though East Oakland, it's way better than it used to be when I was growing up, right? But you're in the middle of San Francisco at a gay party complaining about homophobia in the gay community, like in San Francisco. Like, you could get so caught up in what's wrong, you can't take advantage of what is right. That's where I'm going with this. There's always problems. We all have problems. I'm here to work on a problem. That's why I put this class to help black entrepreneurs. So it's obviously I recognize impact of racism. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that the impact is greater if the fear is not controlled. That's where I'm going with this. Go ahead. The results.
The result is the freely available global terrorism database containing details of 170,000 terror events.
Black Lives Matter.
This database shows that in the 10-year period from 2007 to 2016, terrorists killed 159,000 people worldwide.
Worldwide, 8 billion people.
3 times more than the number killed in the previous 10-year period.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with Ebola, When a number is doubling or tripling, of course we should be worried and look closer to see what it means.
True indeed.
However, while terrorism has been increasing worldwide, it has actually been decreasing on level 4.
That means United States and Europe, terrorism has been going down. Go ahead.
In 2007 to 2016, a total of 1,439 people were killed by terrorists in countries on level 4. During the 10 years before that, 4,358 were killed. That includes the largest attack ever, the 2,996 people who died on 9/11 in 2001. Even if we exclude them, the death toll on level 4 has remained the same between the two latest 10-year periods. It was on levels 1, 2, and 3 that there was a terrible increase in terror-related deaths. Most of that increase was in 5 countries: Iraq, which accounted for almost half of the increase, Afghanistan, Nigeria, Pakistan, and Syria.
So does racism happen in certain places? Do we have incidents? Okay, we live in a global technology world, so I can report this just happened over here. Your fear is going to copy and paste it to your local environment, even though it didn't happen over here, right? And then in your brain, you're going to tie the incident like, oh, now you have 25 incidents of it happening, but it feels like because you watch 25 different incidents all over the world, which means really is nothing. It's almost like 0.000. It's just ridiculously low number. But in your brain, it feels like it's happening everywhere. You guys get where I'm going with this? So if the media focuses you towards too many negative stories, even though they may have happened spread out 25 times in 1 month, that's almost not even worth changing your pace of any of your plans for the day. Now, if it happened 25 times on your block, that's a high-ass number. But if you watch it in the media, your brain feels it like it happened 25 times on your block. So racism, so every time, like if you go back before George Floyd, from Trayvon Martin to, which was a horrible story. Now, these stories, I'm not justifying or trying to shrink these stories. All these stories are horrible. But your brain can take Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd and see it as one space, one time, and one person. And it's overwhelming you. And so now you'll take things that kind of look like that or remind you or can lead up to that, and now you're blowing the whistle. Now you have social justice movements. Social justice movement, I told y'all, it's a mental distortion. It's a huge mental distortion. For the new students, I know y'all gonna be like, God damn, who's this dude? But trust me, stay with me. I will show you 1,000. Anybody in this class, or I pull some of the students who've been here for a little while, they'll tell you, I'm not attacking anybody. I'm saying we're losing our ability to process and then direct our resources. And why is this important? Because when you start to grow something in your business, you're gonna have micro terrorism, micro problems. Have you guys been to a soul food restaurant and it's like it's armed itself for bad customers? Right? They grew victim to their terrorism of what's happening to their lives. They've overcalculated and they misused funds. They overpurchased. They directed the resources in the wrong direction because they had fear operating in the background that was spending their attention and their money. This is why this process of this lesson you're learning is going to teach you how to make day-to-day decisions. I'm teaching you how to make day-to-day decisions in your business. Because a lot of your decisions you're going to make, you'll look at a spreadsheet. You'll do your calculation on where you should spend your money, where you should invest, because you don't spend money in business, where you should invest your money for the next year. And I promise you, half of it won't make it because your fear and your emotions. The same fear and emotions is going to mess you up. That you're getting also spending your time around what you're on social media talking about, what you're arguing with people for, what you're disconnecting with people for, why you, when you go sit with white people, all that download of racism hits your head and you start to shrink yourself because 4 white men are wearing a suit talking to you. And it really comes down to your fear has just fucked you in a negotiation and you take the lesser percentage. And then when you find out another person walking in the office and they got 10 times as much as you, and they said that was to the bottom, and you really realize, what the fuck is wrong with me? And it's really your fear. This is why this shit is important once you guys unravel this back to business and making decisions in your life. Or let's say you raising your kids and you fucked them up because you over sheltered them or you over panicking because of school. My wife came to me last night and said, hey, I want to put our daughter in preschool for 3 days, but the school said that she'll be missing out if it's just 3 days. I said, well, what the fuck? So they want us to take it to 4 days. I said, if you don't get the fuck out of my room with this shit, come on, really? What the fuck they gonna teach you in preschool in 1 day? They ain't building no fucking rocket ships. Fuck wrong with you? She has a fucking nanny. She got the best education in the world. Somebody to talk to her every day and work on stuff and have conversations with her. That's high advancement. You think the preschool gonna match that shit right there? They just told you 1 day? Come on, that's their passion. I don't give a fuck about their, fuck their passion. But that's gonna happen to you all the time. People gonna hit you. A guy called me this week. I sold my rim to my Harley. I upgraded to a 21-inch rim. So I sold a 19-inch rim I put it in for sale for $600. Hey, listen here. Don't worry about this. You know, if you don't understand me, I do what the fuck I do. I told y'all I'm a hybrid. So anyway, I sell my motherfucking rim. And dude called me on the phone and said, hey, so I asked for $600, but I knew I'd take about the $400 for it, right? So dude says, hey man, can you take $300? I said, nah, bro. He said, but man, look, I gotta, like, my bike needs this, and it's gonna cost me this, and, you know, and I gotta do this, and get this, and I gotta sell because I ain't got that much money. And I said, bro, no offense, but I got a motherfucking story too. I really want to say fuck your story, but I didn't know him, so it's a little bit too hostile, right? But I was like, dude, I don't give a fuck about your story. You can't tap my emotions, my fear, like, oh man, you going through that too? What about, was you there when I had to pay my motherfucking $2,000 bill to get my goddamn rim replaced? It cost me 2 G's to upgrade a rim on a motherfucking Harley, total. Did you say, hey man, you know, I heard you did that, I just want to rub your shoulders. You want to take some more money out of my pocket for your story? No. Well, in business, that happens all the time. I don't care about your stories. You got to make the best possible decision. And what often gets for you to fall victim to other people's stories is the fear factor and the negativity factor or the drama factor. Those things will fuck you up. Roll it. We finished on US soil? Yeah.
Terrorism deaths in the richest countries, i.e. countries on...
Oh, wait, were you next slide?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Oh, wait, which one were you on?
You were right.
All right, okay.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Terrorism deaths in the richest countries, i.e. countries on level 4, accounted for 0.9% of all terrorism deaths in 2007 to 2016. They have been decreasing through this century. Since 2001, no terrorist has managed to kill a single individual by hijacking a commercial plane. In fact, it is hard to think of a cause of death that kills fewer people in countries on level 4 than terrorism. On US soil, 3,172 people died from terrorism over the last 20 years, an average of 159 a year. During those same years, alcohol contributed to the death of 1.4 million people in the United States, an average of 69,000 a year.
Okay, so terrorism made up all that money, and alcohol got how much money? If we really talking about saving lives, I want us to pay attention to that. By the way, also too, if terrorism decreased, our brain also don't pay attention to what works well. We only focus on what doesn't work. We can tell another time. Keep going.
This is not quite a fair comparison because in most of those cases, the drinker is also the victim.
Next one, keep going.
Fear can be useful, but only if it is directed at the right thing.
There you go.
The fear instinct is a terrible guide for understanding the world.
You cannot understand the world through your regular emotions. Your emotions are not easy. Your emotion has one major purpose, is to protect you, not to read the world. So when you say, I'm about to run my own business and I think what I need to do and what the customer needs and what I should do for the world, you're only talking about you. This is why your company doesn't make no money, because you haven't come with a plan for customers. Your plan is first talking about you. It's a narcissistic solution. Go ahead.
It makes us give our attention to the unlikely dangers that we are most afraid of and neglect what is actually most risky.
So here's the thing too, managing your family, managing your community. Even like you live in Oakland, the community, right? You don't even see the long-term damaging things that are happening around you because you're so caught up in the buzz topics and the fear-based topics. You won't even know that, hey, this is where we should be shifting our resources to prevent this or solve this problem. And yet you work on something that has low return. Same thing happens in your business. Same thing happens in your relationships. Same thing happens in your personal life. This is a pattern here that's so powerful that fear can make you neglect all your most valuable assets at every point of your life. Keep going.
This chapter has touched on terrifying events, natural disasters, 0.1% of all deaths,
0.1.
plane crashes, 0.001%, murders,
So
0.7%.
when you look at homicide, I think it's number 8 on the list of what kills black people. 7 or 8. It's down there. If you look at it on Google, it'll tell you which. It's pretty low on what kills black people. Keep going.
Nuclear leaks,
0%.
0%, and terrorism, 0.05%. None of them kills more than 1% of the people who die each year. And still they get enormous media attention. We should, of course, work to reduce these death rates as well. Still, this helps to show just how much the fear instinct distorts our focus. To understand what we should truly be scared of and how to truly protect our loved ones from danger, we should suppress our fear instinct and measure the actual death tolls.
So, okay, somebody look up real quick on Google. What's the top 3 things that kill black people? I know what they are, but I just want to look it up real quick. Somebody real quick. Huh? There's 3, the top 3. Yeah, read them off to me. Give her the microphone real quick.
One study came as a heart disease, cancer, and unintentional injuries, whatever that means. That
So what?
was the first one, unintentional injuries?
Accidents. Was that, is that, which, I think I got different, is that modern, how new is that one?
CDC, but it was the first one come up, so let me keep looking at
There
that.
should be an older, there should be a newer one, which adds COVID to it. I think COVID's 2 or 3 now, for last year. I promise you, if you look for police brutality, it's not even on the list. Huh? That's for black males? Oh, it's just black males, okay. Yeah, if you just look at the list, the things, so let me ask you a question. When last time you saw, what was the first one?
Heart disease.
Can you microphone so people at home?
Heart
First one.
disease,
And what was the second one?
cancer.
Okay, when is the last time you seen the news really people just drum up hype around, yo, 10 more people just died for cancer to this, 10 people just died from heart disease from this, oh my God, this heart disease is getting out of control, what are we gonna do about heart disease? But you do remember when Popeye was selling them chicken sandwiches, right? I just want y'all to watch how cold it is. Go ahead, Court.
I was also thinking about when you open up your Netflix, right? You look at all the shows you want to watch. It's all about murder. Murder, mafia, the mob, gangsters. I married a murderer. How to get away with murder. It's all about murder. You think mentally that shit's happening everywhere, all the time. And at night, you fear. All your Lifetime channel watching women, it's all about how to kill the guy who was trying to date you. But look at the statistic. It's crazy. But our minds will go off because, like you mentioned earlier, is your basic instinct kicks in, your primal instinct, your survival instinct kicks in, and it's coming up with all different types of scenarios to protect you, but it's perpetuating that idea when it's only that percentage that's happening.
Now I found a Pfizer report. I don't know if this is true, but this is saying for all African Americans, heart disease, stroke, cancer, asthma, flu and pneumonia, diabetes, and HIV/AIDS.
Okay, but no, I can't answer. But if you just put those numbers, just that alone, how much do you see us shifting our movement towards resolving that? What we are resolving is the hottest buzz. Or we'll get people to get on Facebook talking about, if you don't care, then you don't care about black people. Let a cop get killed, you be like, yo, you know, this cancer thing is really sad. They be like, but did you hear Mookie just got shot? No one gives a, like literally, you see people just shift all their resources. That's not flawed black people. That's animal instinct of human beings. And once you understand that, then you can feel comfortable making it, because some of you guys probably made the shift but didn't feel comfortable about it. Then you can say, okay, it's okay for me to say, all right, I can't bring George Floyd back, but what can we do? Right? And I'm not saying that we shouldn't care about George Floyd. That's not what I'm saying. Or that police brutality. That's not what I'm arguing. But are we over caring? Are we shifting a little bit too hard? And we're gonna get into this, like, I'm gonna get into like large organizational management in a little bit, and you're gonna find out that what is right is not where your money goes. And what is good is not where your time goes. We're gonna teach you more of a complex way of thinking, because when you're trying to keep things alive, you don't just keep chasing the most richest story. You'll fail. You'll fail so fast and make your head spin. Keep going.
Because frightening and dangerous are two different things. Something frightening poses a perceived risk. Something dangerous poses a real risk.
Mm-hmm.
Paying too much attention to what is frightening rather than what is dangerous.
So in business, you maybe have ideas that frighten you, and you're spending money on your fears, and you don't spend money on what is dangerous. So for example, I've seen businesses will spend money that's on something frightening but won't have insurance. We'll spend money on something that's frightening but won't have a security system for their building. We'll already spend a hell of money on a security system for their building, but will have like poor pipes or poor electrical system. You go, wait a minute, what are you doing? You don't know how to prioritize your spending because you got frightening over danger. Go ahead.
That is, paying too much attention to fear creates a tragic drainage of energy in the wrong direction.
There you go.
It makes a terrified junior doctor think about nuclear war when he should be treating hypothermia.
Uh-oh.
And it makes whole populations focus on earthquakes and crashing planes and invisible substances when millions are dying from diarrhea and seafloors are becoming underwater deserts. I would like my fear to be focused on the mega dangers of today and not the dangers from our evolutionary past.
That's so much fire. Closure. There's a closure. Hit it.
The scary world, fear versus reality.
This is it. Fear, what we're arguing here is fear versus reality. Go.
The world seems scarier than it is because what you hear about it has been selected by your own attention filter or by the media, precisely because it is scary.
So that's it. It's not that you don't really have you don't have your finger on the pulse of what is the challenge of the world, what is dangerous. It has been selected by your fear instinct or the media. So if you just go on your feeling, that feel, you ever been on earth, like when I say I don't like earthly people, this is why I don't like earthly people. Because they missed, and it was, you guys thought I don't like if an earthly person was sitting here, I would be like, oh, don't touch me. That's not what I'm talking about. And nor would I say, you earthly, you shouldn't have a job. But you can't be in management for my team. Because you basing too much shit on feelings. No, I feel, and my feelings don't lie to me. And you know what your feelings telling me? You're a narcissist, and I can't work with you. You will never serve the people I have you to seek to serve, because empathy means turn your fucking feelings down and read the person sitting across the table from you. That's the challenge. So when I say I don't like earthly people, their their belief system is so damaging when they start to engage a group. And they start to misdirect so many resources because they feel, I feel the energy. I feel, I'm a psychic and I feel these things and I'm just so emotional. And guess what you're doing? You're fucking up everything. What I need you to do is analyze the people in the room, analyze the customer you seek to serve, and figure out what do you need to believe to be successful, not what do you believe. Fuck your beliefs, fuck your emotions. They're both destroying my company. So now, let's go back to earlier, Nana, that y'all be like, he crazy, Nana hella crazy. When y'all come to me, y'all be like, my emotions, I'll be like, man, fuck your emotions. And y'all be like, Nana hella hard. No, I'm telling you, I can't get to the fucking answer because your emotions is blocking us. So fuck your emotions. Your emotions have place to serve you. But when it comes time to lead a team and make decisions for others, it's not that you can't suppress your emotions. That's a false belief. There's no such thing. You just got to recognize them and know when to maneuver around them and when to use them in your favor. They're neither good and they're neither bad. It's just that when you prioritize them as the solution, as the guy, as the binoculars you're looking through to look over the terrain, I'm gonna tell you fuck your emotions. But if you tell me now I have an emotional moment, I would say, fuck your emotions again. No, I'm not sick. I hear people like, oh, either you be emotional or not emotional. There's no such thing. That's a made up story. We're always emotional. But you gotta learn, the emotional intelligence meaning you understand how your emotions work so you know when to embrace them, when to navigate around them, when to harness them, and when to suppress them. They all have their time and place. But earthly people, no, your emotions are always good. And you should always feel them in my chi. You don't shut your chi tea drinking ass up. Go ahead, next one.
Risk equals danger times exposure.
Wait a minute. Risk equals what?
Danger times exposure.
Read it.
The risk something poses to you depends not on how scared it makes you feel, but on a combination of two things. How dangerous is it, and how much are you exposed to it?
Do you know there was people out there talking about police brutality and they ain't been pulled over since in 20 years? It was the fear as opposed to risk of police brutality. Hey man, look, I've had 2 bad cops in the last 20 years, right? But I know the difference. And I'm not saying that all cops are good and all cops are bad. And in some places, their fear is real. But some of y'all, motherfuckers in Portland, Oregon, white people were upset. Y'all just let that process. Keep going, next one.
Get calm before you carry on.
Say again.
Get calm before you carry on.
You say get down before you carry on. You say get calm before you carry on. Because sometimes I told you turn down, turn up for what, I don't know which. Okay, so get calm before you carry on. Here's the thing. This is the solution here. So I talked about the problem. This is just a solution. We already hit the solution last week, but this is critical. When your emotions kick in, freeze decision making and process your emotions. Let them go through you. Because when I say suppress them, I don't mean, let me rephrase that. Process them, but suppress all actions. So if you feel you saw George Floyd get killed, process that. But don't sell your house and donate it to Black Lives Matter. Suppress your actions, and then because your brain has lost its ability to be rational, because when fear gets too high, your brain is incapable of being rational. Keep going.
When you are afraid, you see the world differently. Make as few decisions as possible until the panic has subsided.
That's it. That's a trick right there. So your fears, when you leave here, there was nothing wrong with you when you came in here, and there's nothing wrong when you leave out of here. I'm trying to improve your strategical thinking, not tell you that something's wrong with you. If you're earthly, you can't manage anything for me. That's how it is. Right? Am I lying, Shabisha? Do I let that come into my company? Earthly shit? I smash my shit so fast. Somebody bring an earthly idea into my company. What the fuck you mean? Fuck your feelings. Explain that to me.
He turned his camera off on the Zoom. He put it to black. I said, that's fucked up.
Hey, what?
I'm out of here. You just gonna go?
So, okay, before we get to second order thinking, this is going to be the closure subject. Any questions, any statements on this one? Everybody got something to drink? Somebody got something to eat, sandwich? Just make sure everybody's comfortable. But any questions? Go ahead.
That was to me? Okay.
Anybody.
Just about the keep calm before you carry on. How long recently, somebody did something that really made me angry, pissed me off real bad.
Well, they didn't piss you off. You pissed yourself off.
Fair.
Right.
And I knew I was upset because I started crying. So
You made yourself cry. You hanging yourself? Stop that, girl. Go ahead. That's some old S&M type stuff. I'm going to beat myself. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What I'm wondering is, So this part where it says until the panic has subsided. How long do you like what? Because what I feel like is like, well, I get to decide that.
Well, no, okay. There's different. Great presentation. Great to present your point. Quite often, I have a group of surrounding people I can run it through to bring it down. Right? It might be Mashama, it might be Court, it might be my wife, it might be Shakina sometimes. But Shakina get me turned up sometimes, so I got to watch, especially if it's about food. She be out there trying to fight. But the point is this, and so, but there's people I can run a thought. Pastor Chris back there, I run across him, right? He'll smile you through war. I promise you, that man's smile is powerful. So the point is this, and so there's a circle of men, T. Pratt, Dave Max. These are men I can just say, hey, man, I got this idea. What do you think? And what they do is they allow me to extinguish the fire and get it to a point where I can now, and they'll throw information back at me to help me process it, right? 2, you can't be sensitive and fragile to solve this problem. So if a court call me tonight and say, I got some feedback for you, ain't nothing you can say that's too harsh for me. If Pastor Chris say, yo, no, I think you should do it differently, it's nothing, because first of all, I know they love me and then they got my back. So when they call me, I welcome the call and I built enough strength in me. Even if it hurts for a second, they would never know because that's a hurt that I need to accept. And that's something I got. They ain't their fault, that's my fault. That's my responsibility, right? But what that does, it allows me to get back into it. So there's been times I've called Mashama, this motherfucker called me and told me, and then I got the phone with him like, okay, so what I really need to do is A, B, and C, right? But when I called Mashama, it was like, yo, let's roll up on this cat. But he knew it, and I knew it deep down inside, but I knew my emotions had to be there, and I had to process my emotions and process them out. What you don't want to do is call the cheerleading team. What? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't let that shit. You know what I would do? I would go get me a lawyer right now. I never forget, I saw somebody get disrespected by somebody, and I told him, I say, there's nothing here. Just relax, go sleep on it, let's talk about it tomorrow, there's nothing here. But they called somebody after me who got them to spend money on a lawyer, put a down payment that nothing happened. 2 G's just went out the door. Once again, got emotional, lost 2 G's. And guess what happened? Not a motherfucking thing. A bad customer calling you will invoke a fear. Let's say you fail a customer, you fear failure of your business. Customer tells you, this went bad, I'm gonna put it on Yelp how bad this went. All your fears go, shh. Can you make the right decision? Do you know how to make the right decision? Do you pause that phone call and say, hey, give me a second to investigate what's going on? To calm yourself down. To come back and be able to say, hey, what was the problem? What happened? Well, and a lot of times they just want to be heard, right? And you may come out at actually with more loyalty if you can calm down. But if you respond in that moment of fear, you might go defensive. You might start firing somebody. You may holler at somebody. You might spend some money. You might get that person 2 pieces of clothing when they only ordered a pair of socks. That happened to me one time. I ordered a t-shirt. T-shirt came late. I called the owner of the business. He sent me 2 brand new shirts and told me to keep the 3rd one. I'm thinking, what? But he was emotional. He got caught slipping. Right? Some of us are in bad relationships, bad jobs, bad education, bad everything, because we made decisions based upon this emotional and fearful space. This is critical. Some of you are going to school right now to prevent police brutality. You'll be the quietest law office ever. Because you might say, oh, it's happening everywhere. Is it? Well, based upon the numbers of lawyers and based on you, how many jobs you think you'll get? I'm not saying that it shouldn't be addressed. I'm saying we're redirecting resources all the time. And we're not sitting down looking at the numbers. If you look at the numbers and you can build a relationship with numbers and pull up information or quantitative research, you will find yourself in a situation where you're able to make better decisions and gain better progress and greater impact. So if you want to reduce police brutality, you can, but just stay close to the numbers. Stop watching the TV shows and the 25 reporters who talk about the same subject who's trying to trump the previous reporter on how bad it can make it sound. George Floyd had a cat. Cat has nobody now. You're like, fuck, this is hard for me to listen to. But that's their job. They don't give a fuck about George Floyd. They never even give a fuck. If George Floyd didn't die, he would never met these people. Keep it 100. It's so fucked up. And it's gonna get, next week, it's gonna get deeper, and y'all gonna show where I'm going with this, because I'm gonna go another level to this. Like this level, I need to let you sit here first and get uncomfortable, so I can take you to the next level, which is gonna show you how to make day-to-day decisions. And when you grow, if you don't develop this skill, you'll never grow. So this is gonna prime you for a scaling way of thinking that most people never teach you how to think, because it's just not part of the working class. If you're part of the working class, you came up through a working class family, this just doesn't exist. If you have a parent or family member who talks to you honestly and has deep dialogue with you, and they manage over 1,000 people, meaning literally their livelihood, the house they live in, this next lesson that's gonna follow this on next Wednesday will introduce these new principles, and you'll say, oh shit. Now, with that being said, shake your neck, relax, because we don't have to get into the last strong principle for the night, but this is gonna be, I bet you, I'm gonna bet money that Court he gonna be itching. That microphone, Court may feel like the old days on this next one, because this shit's gonna hit so close to, like, I know Court, right? I know how he got swag, and he has a personality, and he has certain values that's really, really high. We're about to tap into his strong entrepreneur values now. So we're gonna talk about second order thinking. But yeah, please do, sis, please do. Okay, are you also one of those young looking people that looks super, super young, that could not be young but looks young? Because this whole side right here looks really too young.
That's all very subjective. Can you give an example of using fear to motivate?
Yeah. So okay. So once you tap your inner fear, you say, what do I really fear? Let's say I fear the destruction of black people, genocide of black people. That's at the core of one of my beliefs, right? So when I put a child on this earth, I don't want my child to be a victim of genocidal behavior. So that gives me the purpose of what can I do to reduce the genocide of black people? And in that fear of reducing genocide of black people, my purpose is now is to liberate black people. So now my purpose drives me to run my business and do something greater than me and fight past my own personal limitations. Because me personally might be like, I don't get out of bed at night. But I'd be thinking, damn, black people are dying. I don't want to get out of fucking bed. Get your ass out of bed, right? Or I might say, yo, I'm nervous about going through this door and talking to these people. And I think, damn, I got ancestors laying on the fucking soil, and I'm over here worrying about talking to these people. It's almost like a superpower booster when I need to push that button to say, I take that same fear and I manufacture it into a purpose, and now that purpose drives me to be selfless. Because once you get selfish, you become your greatest snag. You'll create such a web of complexity, you can't get past yourself. This is what you've seen with a lot of these younger generations. You know, I, me, I, me. Well, when you focus on I, you can't see nobody else around you. You'll miss almost everything around you. And you're also a victim. Everything's wrong. You play victimization roles. And before you know it, you become self-destructive. So fear is used to generate a purpose. The purpose is used to generate the momentum to drive me past my own personal limitations. All right. Y'all ready to get down? This is going to get fun. This is going to be real fun. All right. Kaja, pray for me. All right, let's go for it. All right, let's do this.
Almost everyone can anticipate the immediate results of their actions. This type of first order thinking is easy and safe, but it's also a way to ensure you get the same results that everyone else gets.
Okay, say that again, because this first sentence is already this is crazy powerful. And if y'all really get it, y'all be like, oh my God. Say the sentence again.
Start at this type.
Yeah, this type.
This type of first order thinking is easy and safe, but it's also a way to ensure you get the same results that everyone else gets.
So, you're aware of what you're doing in your immediate actions. You can participate. If I do this, this is going to happen. If I do this, this is going to happen. But the immediate reaction, if you just become just that level of thinking, you don't change the course of your personal life. Did y'all hear that? This is how most people think. When you're not reading and studying books and learning from other wisdom of others in the game, you're at this first order level, which is you're solving immediate. I'm just gonna get in there and figure shit out. That's how I run my business. I just get in there and I just move shit around till it makes some sense to me. And it says these are deeper principles. These principles came before you, and they're gonna be here long after you. Which says it ensures you'll get the same results that everyone else gets. I'm born in the hood. You stay in the hood. This is powerful as shit. Keep going.
Second order thinking is thinking further ahead and thinking holistically. It requires us to not only consider our actions and their immediate consequences, but the subsequent effects of those actions as well.
Oh, this is gonna get so strong. This is gonna become so strong. Especially those of you who work around nonprofits or education or government. I'm about to nail a coffin. I'm about to put a nail in your coffin because this is gonna hit you right in the chest. Keep going.
Failing to consider the second and third order effects can unleash disaster.
Also, I'm going to show you how a lot of racism that you experience was unintentional. I'm going to show that. I'm going to make that argument tonight. Go ahead.
When they tried to do something good, or even just begin, and just benign, and instead brought calamity, we can safely assume the negative outcomes weren't factored into the original thinking. Very often, the second level of effects is not considered until it's too late. This concept is often referred to as the law of unintended consequences for this very reason.
Okay. I'm going to talk about this about 3 times this year. This subject alone is so complex. Okay. If you never built anything large, this is a principle of large development. When you build something and you have a positive intent, once it reaches a certain stage of growth, it can have unintended consequences. If you start a belief, for example, hip hop started off for a good intent, unintended consequences. Black Lives Matter started off with a good intent, unintended consequences. A lot of movements where people like nonprofits like, I want to stop this. And it sounds really, really good, but unintended consequences. One of the things I told the conscious community is that we were telling black people for years that white supremacy is such a superpower that it's so powerful and so deep, so historical, so much money, so much forces behind it, we stole black people's hope. So when a dude's right to the hood don't give a fuck, we stole that hope from him. We told him a story that white people are insurmountable. You won't even win. So why even fucking bother? So now you wonder why he's robbing and stealing? He ain't got shit to live for. Unintended consequences. The conscious people weren't trying to take away people's hope, but they didn't think about if I preach this message, what can happen once I preach this message? If I told this idea, if I start this system, if I work on this plan, so a lot of things that start off good doesn't make it good once it gets into the system. If something that starts off good, once it evolves, can be highly destructive because once it starts to expand, it has second level and third level consequences. And when you're building systems, those who wish to build anything have to start to think about, if I do this, what is the impact of my decision? Keep rolling.
Second order effects occur even when something simple, like adding traction on tires.
So this is simple. You add traction to, I'm gonna add some rubber to tires. Go ahead.
It seems like such a great idea because the more you have, the less likely you are to slide, the faster you can stop, and thus the safer you are.
So imagine you looking at tires. Say you're looking at a car tires, like for example, I don't know if you look at some of these new cars. The tread looks like it's about this thick. You sitting there going, I remember when tread used to be like goddamn this deep. I mean, I can down there stick my whole thumb in that motherfucker. Now I can barely get my nail in that motherfucker, and it's brand new. This is just ridiculous, right? Keep rolling.
However, the second order effects are that your engine has to work harder to propel the car.
Well, you want a slower car or you want fatter tires? Keep going.
You get worse gas mileage.
Well, you care about the gas mileage or you want fatter tires? Keep going.
Releasing more detrimental carbon dioxide into the atmosphere.
I thought we care about the environment, so why you want these fat ass tires? Keep going.
And you leave more rubber particles on the road.
Uh-oh. Your kids are drinking. What happens when those rubber particles get into your system, your breathing? What happens when it gets to the environment? You see how when you don't understand second order thinking, you just think the system's working against you. You don't see how things evolve and how decisions are being made that may seem kind of unfair or not thoughtful, or doesn't make sense? Because you're thinking about first level thinking. You don't see second order and third level thinking. This is why a lot of you guys work in corporations. You think the corporation is racist or anti this or anti that, because you're thinking about first level. You don't see a corporation from second, third, fourth, and fifth level.
Just real quick, I was thinking about.
Did I tell you? Wait a minute. Pay me my money. Go ahead.
Just because a corporation is a successful billion-dollar company does not mean they engage in second-order thinking.
There
Some
you go.
companies are built just on first-order thinking because first principle thinking because they don't give a fuck what happens next. So if I'm a cigarette company and I learned that people who smoke make me billions of dollars, I'm not even going to trip on what happens after that. Or a candy company, or sugar anything, or anything that hasn't been funneled through or researched through, I don't give. So don't confuse second order thinking with success. Second order thinking is a responsibility that people like us have because that's what people like us do. We look at what happens next.
And then, honestly, if you look at pre-.com businesses, a lot of them try to practice second order thinking, right? But it may have been, you're going to learn the complexity of that because we're going to go into another level of complexity of second order thinking on scaling that makes it even more complex. But keep going. Or with the same slide or we send this one? Okay, next one, go ahead. One second.
This is why any comprehensive thought process considers the effects of the effects as seriously as possible. You are going to have to deal with them anyway. The genie never gets back in the bottle. You can never delete consequences to arrive at the original starting conditions.
If you look at the way Nokia failed, Nokia, there was a CEO that came in Nokia and said, hey guys, we're too conservative and the market is getting now. At first it was about building a dependable phone that works. This is the early cell phone game. So BlackBerry was cool, Nokia was cool. Okay, so Apple's coming onto the game and Nokia's like, yo, we need to turn to an entrepreneur environment, right? But the problem is that they built a culture. They didn't think about second order thinking that said, we're going to design this conservative thing, and once it's scaled to a certain size, remember culture trumps strategy. CEO says let's change strategy. Culture said, nah, we ain't changing. And Nokia it sold for I think $7 billion to Microsoft, and then Microsoft sold it back to the customer for $3.5 million. And at one point they were worth $30 billion. So you went from $30 billion to $3.5 million. 30,000 million to $3. Like they mentioned 30,000 to $3. That's how much of a drop they did, right? But it's because second order thinking would have said, hey, we start this system. What would this mean long term? But like you said, a lot of people don't think like that. Some smart companies do when you see a company like, for example, GE, I think it's either General Motors or General Electric, they've had second order thinking for a long time. That's why they survived over 100 different CEOs. That's a fucking miraculous. That's insane, right? Government has to try to, at certain levels, think of on second level, but not all levels of government has second level. I promise you that from working with the government. Not all levels understand second level thinking. But if you're trying to play the long game, you can start an idea on first level thinking, and the same thing that made you successful kills you. Same thing that made you successful kills you. Y'all see it in music all the time. Artist takes off, this makes them popular, they try to stay in that zone, kills them. Where somebody like, say, Ice Cube, you might say, or Snoop Dogg, they're not the Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg of my days. Are we there yet? And now I'm one's making cereal? Right? But guess what they're doing? They built a brand that can scale and grow and evolve, right? They're thinking about what is the long-term play I'm trying to make here. Where some of us, we bought into these ideas, but we didn't think about what happens when this idea expands and grows. So second level thinking is when you make a decision, this is what I want to decide, this is what I want to solve, it requires a different level of thinking once it decides to go into the wild. In your house, amongst your friends, in a perfect little package, it's a perfect idea. Once it gets to the wild, well, what happens when this group gets a hold of it? It hits this group, when it hits the youth, when it hits this age, when it hits this age, when it hits this money bracket, things start to change, and that's where the complexities kick in. Remember I talked about the uncertainty? Second level thinking and third level thinking is a guesstimate, but you need to be there because you also need to be able to say, if it goes here, I do this, if it goes here, I do that. Keep going.
Quotables. It's too many.
I'm sorry. I'm going to Okay.
Stupidity is the same as evil if you judge by the results.
Stupidity is the same as evil if you judge by the results. Meaning that you go into society and you make good decisions with good intent, with no second level thinking, you can do more damage and evil than good. Now go back to my earthly people. You're trying to see how I'm painting that picture for you. Can you start to see how social justice is starting to get a little dirtier as I keep talking? Good intent, nothing about the second order effect. You know, white people don't know this. And this is something I realize. White people don't realize that amongst people of color, which I fucking hate that phrase. I wish they could just bury that motherfucking word. Because somehow you brought back colored. So now I'm colored. But of us colored people, white people don't realize that, because they came with that idea. We didn't, I don't remember being in the hood and brothers was like, yo, man, I got this new fucking word. I think we should really think about this shit because this shit's gonna give us game. I was like, what's that, bruh? People of color. Fuck, that's deep, bruh. That's why you the smartest motherfucker in the hood. No, white people created that shit for us. Media created that shit for us. Pop culture created that shit for us. But they didn't know that in the people of color, but most of the time in people of color, a lot of those people of color are trying to be white. They can't see that equation. So if an Asian person gets white credibility, he turns to black people like, I don't fuck with y'all. If black people get white people credibility, I don't fuck with y'all. But they don't see that. And so they say that, so now I'm in the same pile with this dude who don't even want to be black, who wants to be more like you. We have inner complexities that don't fit those conversations. So when you go out there and say, we got a people of color solution, and this is why I want to give all this money from this organization for a people of color solving problem, stupidity is a form of evil. I don't think y'all get that shit. All them fucked up nonprofits in our community talking about they're gonna help us with white folks dumping money in our community, causing more complexity of foolishness, redirecting our attention on what's serious. And some of us are running around, I'm a BIPOC. What's they call it? BIPOC? Is that what's it called? Yeah, it's called BIPOC. I promise you I want to say Tupac, but I'm a BIPOC, right? Knowing who the fuck taught you that? If you don't sit down and think about your own shit, stop following other people who don't know what the fuck they talking about, because stupidity is the same as evil when you look at the fucking results. Me, Court, and Eric was talking about when we grew up, me and his brother was young, we got married, we box it out and we'd be best friends next day. But it taught us a value. We're the same men that may have to go to war and fight for the survival of this country, or we may have to protect the block you live on, so the cat who decides he will come to this block and start robbing y'all, we tell him not on this block. We might just be the guy in the house that protects the house from being violated, or our child when it goes to school to make sure that child gets to school safely, to tell the other young men, not that child. So we need that energy amongst us. See, bitch assness don't work too well in the wild. It just doesn't. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. There's a time when you're going to have to just man up on some shit. Now, unfortunately, I had a mama my mama used to man up on some shit. When my bike got stolen, my mama called her sisters, jumped in the car with big-ass wrenches, because back then they didn't have fancy tools. Wrenches. They didn't even have a bat. They just grabbed the wrenches from the back and went to ride it. My one auntie got to grab the spoon off the wall, though. I swear to God she did. And they got my bike back, right? There's a time and place for everything. But what we learn from that engagement as young men is not to take it past a certain point. Now these new dudes, y'all made them so fragile they shoot, because they're really projecting their fear. They have so much built up fear, they killing because they're scared. It's either me or you, dog. So when the schools came in and say, no capping, no fighting, no hands on each other, no none of that stuff, it's evil. You fucked your kids up. Because you wasn't thinking about the second order, thinking of, hey, you're not from that community. When them boys are capping, they're bonding, actually. You didn't know that, did you? Now you don't turn the other kid into a bully because he's the Kevin Hart of these motherfuckers. He give it to him. On top of that, too, that order and structure, if you take the kid's so-called being bullied and help him stand up to the bully, you'll find that the bully is actually the same kid as the kid being bullied. They're the same kid. They're just switching roles. But you'll never know that when you come from a, curated community. But you're trying to do intervention. Here's a principle of intervention. You're going to learn this later on in this class. Intervention, when you solve one problem, you create another. Man, you want to jump on some of this? I knew you wanted. Look, I told you.
I don't think they understand. This shit is so crazy, man. So it's the same thing we used to talk about in the other classes last year. If you walk past a butterfly and you see it in its cocoon fighting, you walk up to it because you say, "Oh, the butterfly is struggling. Let me help it out." You break it out the cocoon, the butterfly never builds the muscles to flap the wings and it will never fly. So it's going to look at you every time it sees you and say, "That's the evil motherfucker that fucked up my wings."
Yeah, this
That shit's crazy.
It's just like once you start looking at second order thinking, you realize good ain't always good and bad ain't always bad. Life is too much, it's way more complex than that. Stop trying to go through life with elementary ways of thinking and you live in a world of complexity. Let's go to the next one. This shit is real. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Come on.
In an example of second order thinking deficiency, we have been feeding antibiotics to livestock for decades to make the meat safer and cheaper.
Yeah, I don't know about die. Go ahead.
Only in recent years have we begun to realize that in doing so, we have helped create bacteria that we cannot defend against.
See, once again, it felt so good. Can you imagine the first person created like, I have this antibiotic, and more people be able to eat this beef. Pause. Because I just can't. I can't. No matter how I say it, will be wrong. I'm gonna cut myself. God damn it. They don't eat this meat. Pause. I can't. There's just no way I'm gonna get past this conversation. It's gonna be all wrong. Point is this. The first person, eat this food. Okay, eat this food. There you go. Hey. Okay, eat this fish. And at this point, what God just said, oh. You're like, oh. Wait, eat this food, right? And the first person and the first group of people, you can imagine being in that group. It would have felt great if you didn't know about the second part. But keep going. Don't cut my goddamn self. No, we got let's. Yeah, huh? Can we just pause it for 1 second? Just keep going.
In 1963, the UC Santa Barbara ecologist and economist Garrett Hardin proposed his first law of ecology. You can never merely do one thing. We operate in a world of multiple overlapping connections, like a web.
So let's say again, you can't do one thing because things are operating like a web. Everything has a web connection to it. There's no such thing as just I against the world. This is another distortion comes out of the music industry. It's all about you, as me, individual. This is an illusion that makes you ignorant when it comes to building, because there's no such thing. Keep going.
With many significant yet obscure and unpredictable relationships.
Unpredictable, obscure relationships. The world's full of unpredictable, obscure, you won't even see it. This is, okay. Keep going. This is going to be great. Keep going.
He developed second order thinking into a tool showing that if you don't consider the effects of the effects, you can't really claim to be doing any thinking at all.
Wait. Court, you hear that, what he said? Court, he said, if you don't want to consider the effects of the effects, you ain't doing shit. All right, let me say it the way we would say it. You ain't doing shit. If you don't consider the effects of what you are doing, you ain't doing nothing at all. Let that sit in your system for a minute. You out there being an activist, nonprofit program, solution-based teacher, educator, doctor, nurse, liberator, parent. If you don't consider the effects of the effects, you ain't doing nothing at all. I'm a parent. I ain't consider the effects of my decisions, and the effects of its effects. You ain't doing. I'm a good parent. Really? Really? Okay. Well, fuck it. I'm out of the room. I'm leaving now because it's not time for me to talk. This is powerful shit. This is a principle. The second order thinking principle is a fucking amazing ass powerful tool. When you learn how to use this tool, I promise you, it's gonna seem like you have superpowers. Just keep going.
High degrees of connections make second order thinking all the more critical because denser webs of relationships make it easier for actions to have far reaching consequences. You may be focused in one direction, not recognizing that the consequences are rippling out all around you. Things are not produced and consumed in a vacuum.
Things are not produced and consumed in a vacuum. How many of you guys are trying to feel uncomfortable about decision making right now? Anybody? You guys all feel comfortable about decision making now? Or you guys just ego telling you don't raise your hand? Are you guys feel comfortable still? Because I'll be feeling uncomfortable if I was in your shoes. But y'all feel uncomfortable?
You said uncomfortable.
Yeah, who feels uncomfortable?
Uncomfortable.
Okay.
Okay.
This is why you can't build nothing alone. That's why you should feel uncomfortable. If you don't feel uncomfortable, your ego got you trapped. That's why when it comes to building great things, it's never a one-man show. Because you can't see second order by yourself. You may see it sometimes, but you definitely won't see it all the time. And you need a group of people who are independent thinkers, not all yes people or all people who are locked in the same passion. This is game. Keep going.
Second order thinking is not a way to predict the future.
Nope, it's not. So don't be doing that shit either. You're not a psychic. Cut it out.
You are only able to think of the likely consequences based on the information available to you. However, this is not an excuse to power ahead and wait for post facto scientific analysis.
So some of y'all don't turn second order thinking into another reason to procrastinate. So those who suffer from perfectionism will sit there all day long and be trying to second guess and doing more equations to reach your analysis. And guess what? Your performance sucks. So at the end of the day, you still don't get nothing done because you're too slow. You're going to have to make the fastest calculated guess and build systems to make the best possible guesstimates. But you got to realize that you're never going to be perfect, but you want to always take in consideration, because when it starts to see signs of what is possible, you can start to build smart solutions and still turn a mistake into a solution. Keep going.
Second order thinking.
Look like Cassandra, don't it? Go ahead, keep going.
You know, I almost thought that was like an older version of Angelique.
Cassandra over there modeling for Hope. Give me a couple pictures, y'all. Give me a couple pictures. Go ahead.
It looked
In her
like
New York
above
apartment.
Angelique.
Oh, no, I look more like Cassandra because of all the muscles. Go ahead.
Second order thinking teaches us two important concepts that underlie the use of this model. If we're interested in understanding how the world really works, we must include second and subsequent effects. We must be as observant and honest as we can about the web of connections we are operating in. How often is short-term gain worth protracted long-term pain?
Okay, this is two things here. So the first part, a lot of our conversations, like, what's wrong with the world, or what's wrong with government, or what's wrong with politics? There's no second order thinking in it. Nobody does second order thinking in those discussions. All of them, from NPR down, fucking Fox News, nobody does second order thinking. Everybody hits first level thinking, complains, and they don't think about, but maybe in this so we talked about Roe versus Wade. He's like, Nana, where's your opinion about women's, what do you say? Agency, the agency that women have gained over the years, and how does that impact the discussion of the topic of Roe versus Wade? I told her, I don't know, because I don't know the second order and third level thinking that went into it at all, right? Because if a group of judges sat around and made a judgment about it, I don't know what that means. And until I can see what they looked at to make that decision and then evaluate those numbers, I can't make that call. When you talk about why does government, why does my job, why does the supervisor, why does management, you got to learn to start to see the world through second order. So you then, by you becoming a student of observation, you become a student of decision making, right? So that's going to change all your conversations about everything around you. When you keep saying racism, sexism, homophobia, in those common popular terms, you're removing the conversation around second order thinking. Once you understand second order thinking, because this is what, okay, if buy black became a full-time thing, then what's the difference between buy white? You didn't think about second order thinking, did you? You thought about it from you thought about healing yourself from responding. Because a lot of our decisions we're making in the community is, I'm reacting like you hit me, so I'm going to hit you back. Where are we going with this? There's a time, every man in this room can tell you, there's a time in the streets when you got to just take that hit. Because them dudes behind him about to take your life if you just go ahead and make that hit back. At some point, you got to make second order thinking like, oh, wait a minute, who's this dude? Who's behind him? And what's their incentives? Or if I take this dude out, what's the long-term play? What's going to mean to my family at home? Right? There's levels of second order thinking that's happening. But if you look at the way we're thinking in culture, when you're one of these very defensive people that's running around, you're too first level. You gotta get into other people's shoes and go, well, what would be their motivation, causations, and why they're in the space that they're in? And then what caused that? Learn to see the complexity of the webs around you and stop simplifying to racism, fairness, not cool, all that stupid shit you're doing. Stupid, they stupid. Oh, hey, hella stupid. Oh my God, they hella dumb. So y'all see when I say most people are good? Now you see where that came from? Because life is so complex that even if you do something I would consider ignorant in front of me, it might be a smart solution to something that you've been through. See where I'm going with this? This is why that judgmental undertone of good, bad, ugly, smart, it starts to get really it traps you into a smaller form of thinking, a higher level of thinking. Okay, now I'm starting to sound like do not judge, huh? Does that sound like a do not judge? Uh-oh. Do not judge, understand. Remember I told you my neighbor came to me and says, man, he's a Christian dude. He's like, yo, man, I have a hard time with judgment. I said, so then you'll be foolish. You should lead life with curiosity because life is a complex web. And if you don't start mastering the art of observing second order thinking, you will be a victim of second order thinking. Remember, if you're doing shit on first level, then you're not doing anything. That means you're ignorant. Stupidity is a form of evil when you're functioning like that. Once you look at the results, you see now you start to see how the complexity, how this stuff. Now you start to see some like when you guys talk to me, you're thinking, oh, Nana, you on some shit. No, these are principles I've embraced because I eat and live and sleep by these principles. The things I love, I use these principles to keep them strong. So second order thinking is a form of thinking where you stop being so judgmental and gossiping shrinks you into first level thinking. Sitting around gossiping, you know what's wrong with this person? You know what he said, she said. You're shrinking your thinking. So when it comes time to build, you shrunk. You're a midget in a giant world. Your shit don't reach high. You got to start learning to say, why did that happen? What's the causation? When the media tells you something, what's the causation? Stop getting to yeah, he said this. He said, this is why I don't even fuck with him. Oh my God. You're shrinking. You're shrinking your fucking self. It ain't about the people you're talking about. The person that's talking about everybody is you. You're the most common denominator. You fucked up. The world don't suck. If you think the world's ugly, it's the ugly thoughts you have in your mind about the world is ugly. It's not the world. How do you build successful ship? There's cats go back to the dude on Seminary making money on hot dog. He didn't go to Walnut Creek and set up his shit. He didn't go to San Leandro in the Latino community and set up his shit. He didn't go to the Chinese community and set up his shit. He set his shit right in the motherfucking depth of the hood. I don't even go to that gas station for water. That gas station is real. Motherfucker, that stop sign is an obstacle that gets on people's nerves because no one uses that motherfucker. And yet the brother said, I'm coming right the fuck here because he's seen opportunity when y'all didn't see shit. You got to get past that first level thinking. And the way we talk as a culture, hip hop music, think about how weed was justified when it first came along. Well, Indians smoked it. Motherfucker, is that it when you stop first level? Is that it? Is that it? I know people who are successful who smoke weed. Is that it? That's all you're going to say. That's it. You don't sit down and go, okay, well, let's do a deeper examination and look at the complexities of the web of it, and is all people the same? Let's say Charlize can smoke weed all day long and she performs at optimal level, but what's subjective is you don't get to define what that is. Her competition defines that. And let's say she's in the game and she's really a C, but to us she's an A. But you got an addiction problem and you got other issues and you have mental health problems. So when you get the marijuana, you go to the fucking bottom. You at the desert of the ocean. But you justifying your position because you watching Charlize, who looks like a big bird to you, but she ain't never fucking reached the sky. She's a fucking duck. I don't think you guys understand what the fuck you're saying. Like, first level thinking gets you to make these decisions that don't mean shit. You're not thinking like, if I make this decision, then what does that mean? What does that cost? What's the long-term pro? Think about your credit. Many of y'all make first level decisions on your credit, the car you purchase. Some of y'all went out and bought an expensive ass car and forgot about the second level cost of keeping that motherfucker running. Parking it, insurance, relationships, your kids, with them walking their dirty ass feet on them expensive ass leather. Second order thinking. Right? I mean, once you really start embracing how deep this shit is, you're gonna start moving very, very different than everybody else around you. You see where I'm going with this? Keep rolling. It's just, the second part. Short-term gains protracted long-term pain. If they ain't hip-hop richness, success stories, this is the richness you sold every day by music videos, entertainment industry. Motherfuckers like, if you ask people, name a billionaire, motherfuckers may say Jay-Z first. But if you look at the list of billionaires, Jay-Z last. Why? Because in the end, you learn, you've become a worshiper of short-term gains. Oh, you said, no, how you gonna judge me? You don't know me like that. You got the game fucked up. Oh, okay, look at your health. Look at your money, look at your practice routines. Do you realize that, look at how you think success should come to you by next year. You don't realize that success is not, I close my eyes, I'm here. It's setting out on a path that will change you for the rest of your life, that will create success on the journey. There is no success destination. It's the stupidest shit ever. So you're playing the long game no matter what the fuck you're doing. Hustlers play short games. That's why hustlers come. You know how many people in this world will become millionaires and be broke in their lifetime? A lot. That's normal. It's not abnormal. That's very normal in America. Because a lot of people are playing a short-term game. Most millionaires are the most frugal people you will ever meet. They will be at Walmart shopping like a motherfucker. Because why? They're playing the long game to reduce the long-term pain. Y'all playing the short game, even when you're getting high. I can't tell you how many black people I grew up with was drinking alcohol in my time. If you saw them old-looking motherfuckers today, they'd look like my grandma. Bless her. If she was here today, my grandma would be like, "Oh, I don't remember going to school with you, girl." She'd be like, "Oh, I went to school with your son." No, you didn't. Old as fuck. Because alcohol ate their asses up. Ate them alive. Short-term game. Some of y'all raise your kids like shit. And when they're 16, 15, 14, pain. Oh, the pain. Them motherfuckers give you pain like you never had pain before. You down there at the prison dropping off all kind of shit, picking them up from the psych ward, taking them off the streets, taking care of the ex-baby mama kids. Pains. Second order thinking is every layer of your life. I promise you this is the deepest, one of the dopest principles ever. Let's keep going.
Second order problem.
Okay, this is second order problem. This sounds like some old pimp shit. Let me tell you about some second order problems. You understand me? Go ahead.
I am going to use that. I am. Watch. I'm going to use.
Okay, go ahead. Give it to me.
Warren Buffett used a very apt metaphor once to describe how the second order problem is best described by a crowd at a parade. Once a few people decide to stand on their tiptoes, everyone has to stand on their tiptoes. No one can see any better, but they're all worse off.
Go back to weed. Once a few people decide to smoke weed, everyone starts to smoke a little bit of weed. No one can see any better, but they are all worse off. Oh, y'all thought I was gonna let weed go? Fuck y'all. Y'all can't with me. Keep it in 100. Like, if y'all see the effects of the weed on second order thinking, like, yeah, the few people that might be able to smoke weed, cool. I'm sure everybody who's smoking weed right now who loves it could be like, well, I'm one of those special people. Cool, whatever, fuck it. It is what it is. But when you look around you, And you see that we're like, why do you need to smoke weed? You told me I smoke weed once a month when me and my friends go up to the mountains and we smoke some weed and we kind of have this cool experience. I don't know if I have anything to say to you. I'm not anti-marijuana. I am anti-addiction when you're using it to escape. Escape a world you ain't never mastered. Escape a world that you can't even play the fucking game. You a motherfucker. You're not even on the team. You walk. They just let you stay on the court and pass motherfucking towels. You want to be in the NBA and you want to smoke weed every day instead of practice. And you wonder now. You talk about the coaches racist. The NBA don't like black people. You don't know the game you in. This is where you getting drunk every day. What the fuck you getting drunk for every day? What you running from? Look, smoking weed every day and needing to eat fine foods every day is almost the same thing. I gotta eat cupcakes every day. I gotta feel I gotta have a certain level of food every day. Why? What you running from? Do you understand the game you playing? And do you understand the long-term impact of that decision? Let's say you chilling with me one day, and I have access to a lot of folks who are performing. And you show up, you high as fuck. You're like, man, I don't know, I can't. I mean, that shit kind of do what you're talking about, but man, shit, it is what it is, man. Man, fuck these motherfuckers, man. These niggas crazy anyway, man. You know how I feel anyway. You think I'm gonna refer you to anything? You think I'm gonna like point you towards any money? I'm gonna spend my status and my reputation on your addiction? I wish motherfuckers just help me out. Motherfuckers don't be looking out for nobody. Oh, it's us, huh? It's us. I'm keeping it fucking. Look, y'all can go home, call me all kind of. I ain't shit. I'm used to it. But I didn't make this shit up. I'm trying to tell you how the real shit works. And at the end of the day, when we point our fingers, you know what I found out a long time ago? Most of the people who are the most militant are the most damaged people in our community. I don't know if you ever noticed that. I've been keeping count. And most of the most militant people, when you look at how they handle their own life, they can tell you what's wrong with everything in the world besides themselves. Next slide.
Second order thinking and realizing long-term interests. This is a useful model for seeing past immediate gains to identify long-term effects we want.
So this is a useful model for seeing past immediate gains to identify long-term effects we want. Keep going.
This is often a conflict for us.
It's a conflict. So it's not just you. It's not black people. It's conflict for all human beings. Keep going.
As when we choose to forego the immediate pleasure of candy to improve our long-term health. The first order effect is this amazing feeling triggered by pure sugar. But what are the second order effects of regular candy consumption? Is this what I want my body or life to look like in 10 years? Second order thinking involves asking ourselves if what we are doing now is going to get us the results we want.
So, I struggle with weight. And I think any black person who's built thick, we struggle with weight. But we all know that's something we got to work on because diabetes is like this. Heart disease and cancer, that's just real. I tell people the only test that ever matters to me is a test I get when I get back from my blood test. If that shit says my sugar, my salt, my cholesterol is too high, I'm flunking. But somehow, in order to protect the destructive language of kids who were attacked for being overweight, from being part of a culture that was overweight, we created Liza, which is the glorification of weight. It's a difference. It's a difference. One does not align with the other. And yet, if I say to you, hey sis, you're picking up some weight, you okay? Because that's what there's usually something going on. It's not, if somebody goes from a size 6 to a size 20, that's not usually because they just love cupcakes. Something's happening on the inside that's hurting. It could be pain, it could be depression, and they might need your support and love, not shaming and jokes. I'm with that 100%. But it doesn't mean the glorification of it. Big difference. Big difference. If we're dying from diabetes and heart disease and cancer, that's pretty something we should. And here's the thing, You can be overweight. Like, for example, so I'm slightly overweight. And mind you, I've been dropping since last year when I told y'all this enough. I got really big last year. I don't know, it was a year, 2 years ago. I was like, oh, holy shit, right? Got on the scale said, get off. And, because I got big, right? And what happened was, I started working out. I've been working out consistently. And I've been slowly but surely, like, because it takes time to adjust. And I just got my test back recently. Doctor's like, damn, you're killing it. Your blood. And now, mind you, anywhere I was supposed to, like, you should probably drop 15 more pounds and you'd be absolutely, like, exceeding perfect. Like, literally above almost everybody because of my office. And I want to see my daughter get older. I want to see my daughter graduate. I want to see my daughter, I want to go to her first marriage and tell her the dude ain't shit, just because I want to say that. Right? He ain't shit, he ain't me. I just want to say that. Just want to do some old man shit. But I know that's not going to happen if I don't take care of myself. Period. I am my most important investment. I'm number one. Then I work on this other shit. If I don't take care of me, I don't have no daughter. I don't take care of me, I don't have none of y'all to love. I don't take care of me, I don't see none of my dreams come true. But it's okay to say that without saying, don't insult somebody that has weight. Give them space, give them support, give them love. That's two different fucking arguments. But somehow we create a lizard, which is glorification of it. It's two different arguments. And in that argument, what I'm trying to explain to you is that that's first level thinking. Second level thinking is, hey, we should be able to hold two competing ideas at the same time. They are total contradictions. You guys get where I'm going with this? This is not, I am not anti a human being walking on this fucking earth. I can go almost anywhere and I'm having the best time ever. Now I love my blackness over everything. If you ask me where my first investment is, black folks. But do I love people and I love going places and meeting people and learning about different cultures? I'm the most curious human being in the world. I'm not dude at any event talking to everybody. You're like, not over there talking to the midgets or the short people, whatever y'all want to call them. Whatever. I'm over there talking to short people because I want like, what do you go through? How do you see the world? What's your struggles? Right? I want to talk to everybody in the fucking room because people are amazing to me. I love people. But I also understand the difference between first level thinking and second level thinking. If I want to see more lives survive, I'm not going to the George Floyd March. I'm going to try to figure out how I get more people to be healthy, how I get more people to get past diabetes, how I get more people to get past cancer, how I get people to be better parents, how I get people to build businesses that can hire their own and have a certain amount of cultural control in our community. That's second level thinking. First level thinking is just get paid, get mines. Go ahead.
I was thinking too is the application of second order thinking comes into play when people want to skip steps. They'll see somebody who's successful in business and be like, I want to go straight to that what they doing. But like that paragraph talks about, all the sacrifice that they had, all the things that they skipped because they had second order thinking, allowed them to get where they are. And then when you was partying, you was kicking it. When you was smoking, they wasn't. They wanted to go to the party too, but they didn't because they knew that the compound effects of them working or studying or putting in work was going to pay dividends for them later, but you didn't think about the second order effects. You wanted to party now. But then when they get that success, you want to be a hater or jealous, or you want what they want right now. Second order thinking allows you to understand that there was a journey, and what did you sacrifice to get where you're going? I want to learn part of the sacrifice. I want to learn part of the journey so that I can get there too, instead of just trying to skip steps to the success.
That's why when you meet people, that's why the journey is so important. That's why everybody's so important to me. Everybody. I need to know the wins and the losses because they all are great information for me. They're great insights for me. So when I walk around, if you ever travel with me, when you travel with me, I'm talking to everybody. Everybody gonna get this conversation. If I stop and breathe and you standing next to me, hey, how you doing? Eventually I'm gonna find out what you do, what you into, where you stand, what you believe in. Because people are valuable to me. But when you try to skip steps and you think life is just about special people and some people are blessed and other people ain't blessed and I'm on top of the world, but other people ain't on top of the world, you start skipping the steps. The practice, the hard work, the sacrifices. I didn't go to the festival that year. I was working. My son 1:30 in the morning. You want to go to the gym? Fuck yeah, let's go. Right? Because it's like, yo, it's a cost, and it's not a one-time cost. It's like that. I don't get to brag about that one night I went at 1:30. It's about how many. It's not about the margins. It's about the averages. What's my averages of commitment to sacrifices? Come on, let's come. I got a few more. Let's keep it going. Come on, Josh. Don't text me again. Go ahead.
Finding historical examples of second order thinking can be tricky.
Oh, this is people like zoning on this. This is so cold. This is so cold. This is so God, it's so cold. This shit fucked me up about 10 years ago. It took me like I felt like, okay, so when you learn new levels of thinking, it's like being high. It's like, euphoria for a week. Like I literally walk around like, what the I remember I ran to my friend's house when I was 19, 20, 21. I learned my first moment of just awakening. I ran 3 blocks, hit the corner, knocked on his door like somebody's coming to share my discovery, and he's like, yeah, that's cool. I was so mad at him. It wasn't his fault, but it's such an energy when you discover this. This shit's cold. Now read this one. Go ahead.
Finding historical examples of second order thinking can be tricky because we don't want to evaluate based solely on the outcome. It all turned out well, so he must have thought through the consequences of his actions. Even if you can glimpse the long-term gain from your short-term pain, there is no guarantee you're going to get there.
Oh my God. This shit gets rid of all them fucking gurus. If you do this, you're gonna be successful. If you measure your success by the outcome, or you read these stories about, what Steve Jobs did? I read a book about think rich man, poor dad, think rich, be rich, secrets and all kind of bullshits. That's no guarantee for you. I don't give a fuck how many books you read. What are you doing? I can read all the books about Arnold Schwarzenegger I want. I still don't got a 6-pack. I'm about to read 2 more and I haven't even lost 4 inches. I read 7 books. I'm just saying if I did it, would maybe not lost a goddamn pound. Some of y'all read all this shit about material success, go to all these so-called gurus and motherfuckers tell you about the Tony Robbins layers of success. Sorry, I don't want to offend nobody. Tony Robbins layers of success, and guess what? Your money's still broke. Your money broke. I know that's some broke shit, right? I don't even want your shit. Get your shit called Bitcoin ass. Anyway, point is this: you're broke. You fucking broke. Why? Because that's a trick. When you're reading all this history is not back then. It's anything that just happened. So yesterday is history. So you read all these books about historical efforts, but you lose second order. That's why you haven't learned second order thinking, because when you read these books about success, you can't see it. These are hidden principles. Most principles are abstract, hidden ideas that put together complexities that you didn't even see before. So second order thinking, this is why it's missed in all these seminars and classes you go to, because they're preaching first level successes. Like he did this, and he was successful. I know a person who did this and they were successful. Have you noticed I reduce podcasts? So if you guys haven't been around, I used to give podcasts every week, 2 or 3 podcasts a week. I started reducing them because a lot of them are making false claims that if you just do these 7 steps, 10 steps, 25 steps, 50 steps, change this, change that, change this, you'll be successful. This is what successful people do. You can do all that shit and still not be successful. Keep going. I won't leave you hopeless. I'm gonna give you some hope in a minute. Keep going.
Developing trust for future success.
Okay. This is my year 1 5T media class. This is the first lesson I ever taught, but I'm about to bring it back in a cold way. I'm bringing it back a deeper way. This is the first lesson I ever taught. Teach, go for it.
Trust and trustworthiness are the results of multiple interactions.
Trust and trustworthiness. So first of all, black people, Latino people, few Asian people, and my Irish white folks, and my Jewish people. Let me say this real quick. Trust is a currency. If you don't have trust, a lot of shit gonna just almost disappear in your life, and you won't understand why. Go ahead.
This is why second order thinking is so useful and valuable.
Come on.
Going for the immediate payoff in our interactions with people, unless they are a win-win, almost always guarantees that interaction will be a one-off.
Read that again, because I can see Charlize she was playing with her hair. She got a new hairstyle. Go back from going for
the immediate payoff in our interactions with people,
Going for immediate payoff. I want y'all pay close fucking attention to this. This principle applies across the board. Go.
Going for the immediate payoff in our interactions with people, unless they are a win-win.
I mean, if you go off immediate playoff and we both win. So if we both win, it's okay. But if you just try and get yours, I got to get mine. Keep going.
Almost always guarantees that interaction will be a one-off.
Keep going.
Maximizing benefits is something that happens over time.
What does it say? Maximize happens over how long?
Over time.
I think they said, Lily, I think she said maximizing benefits happens over time. Keep going.
Thus, considering the effects of our actions on others or on our reputations.
Considering the effects of our interactions with others. I'm about to change your whole social game. Keep going.
Or on our reputation is critical to getting people to trust us and to enjoy the benefits of cooperation that come with that.
Keep going.
Being aware of second-order consequences and using them to guide your decision-making may mean the short term is less spectacular, but the payoffs for the long term can be enormous. By delaying gratification now, you will save time in the future.
What do you say? They said, because Shakina doesn't like the word delaying. She said, so just get my say a lot. She said, by delaying gratification now, you will save time
in the future.
Oh my God. Keep going. This should, if y'all ain't crying yet, I'm gonna make you cry. Keep going.
You won't have to clean up the mess you made on account of not thinking through the effects of your short-term desires.
Some of y'all walk around with problems. First level thinking. When my first class, I said, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to be like a politician. This is the first class I ever taught. Remember this, Shakina? I said, when you walk out the house, when you go to the grocery store, you got to control the way you interact with everybody. How you shake hands, how you say hi, how you treat the lowest of us at all times. There is no lower level. Everybody's valuable. I remember back when I was younger, this is a young lady I used to date. She had one of those Atlanta bodies. So I was young, and that's all I could think about at the time. And we were on our way to a date. This is a real story. And we stopped by a supermarket. And we were in the produce section, and it was a long produce section. And she said, "Hey, you want some of these?" I said, "This is the last time. This is the last date right here. This is it. This is it." I can tell you nothing ever happened in that date. That's how it began, and that's how it ended. It was like, let's go get this sandwich and get you home, because this is ridiculous, right? Because my life, at this point, I was trying to build something. So how I show up to everybody around me is building. Building is relationships. Building is how you carry yourself. If people don't want to fuck with you because you kind of irritate them, check your personality, because it might be a bias about you don't see. You need honest feedback about who you are and how you're showing up. Because people might just be tolerating you. But when people are tolerating you, your money is looking like you being tolerated. Your life look like you've been tolerated. Momentum comes from aligning with the people around you, and it's how you value people. And don't seek value, give value, which returns value. That's a law of reciprocity. Give value to get value. If you walk around just projecting love and how can you show for others and how can you be of value to others, if you're conscious of how not to hurt others just because you want to hurt others, disrespect, you're literally showing up thinking about others first. You will build a wealth of relationships. So they just told me that when you go to college, I've been saying this from the first class before it became, remember this, Shakina? I used to say, if you go to college, the most important thing about college is not the education, it's the relationships. I've been saying that for years. Because I've seen it happen in the real world. When you're in the real world, what gets you a contract is your partner who happens to work for them, who pushes it in the next meeting, and the boss trusts them because they built that trust relationship with that boss because everything they've done has been honest and real and trustworthy. So that trust says, I don't need to evaluate your decision. If you say it, I'm riding with you. So that gives somebody who's new in the game an opportunity to jump up in the game. Trust is everything. This is why individualism is your enemy. Remember, stupidity is a form of evil. Because when you practice individualism, you only care about your fucking self. Now, narcissism and ego got you fucked up. And because it got you so fucked up, you going around just trying to satisfy yourself and take care. I didn't even see what I did. I'm sorry, I didn't know I hurt you. I was just thinking about me, my narcissism. I don't know what the fuck's going on. The world's doing me wrong. It's not fair to me. I don't like an I. And you wonder why you have no relationships. Some of you guys are suffering from loneliness. Some of you guys are saying, well, you know, you eat pork, so I can't talk to you. You're not Muslim. I can't talk to you. You're not black enough. You got a white girlfriend. I don't know what the fuck you here. And you know what? You speak Chinese, so I don't even fuck with none of y'all. And then you wonder why you can't produce shit, why you can't see people. You can't even get wisdom down. Look, wisdom don't only come from books. It's the fastest way to get it. But it doesn't, it's like drinking artificial milk. You need to learn what real milk tastes like. And real milk comes through relationships. Some of y'all was like, I don't be fucking with sisters like that. I don't fuck with this type of people like that. And when you look at your life, you realize you don't fuck with nobody. Relationships is literally like the freeway that your money will run on to get back and forth to you. And many of you guys tearing that shit down don't see it. And the reason you can't see it, and this is where you become a victim. You talk first level shit too much. You do first level shit too much. Second order thinking starts thinking, okay, for example, my biggest contract, my biggest contract came through somebody I really don't like. I really don't like this person at all. Like, I try to like them for 7, 8 years. I just, fuck it, I don't like you. But my first big contract I ever got, which was a $10,000 a day job, came through a little young girl I took a picture of. A little young girl. Mother said, hey, can you take a picture of my daughter? I said, of course I can. I really got into it. I was like, oh, come on, young lady, you're doing great. And then, somebody who raised in a house full of women, I showed the highest love and respect I would show to any young black girl. And that's my own daughter. So I gave her that more uncle, responsible, but also I want you to have a good experience as a young lady. I want you to celebrate yourself as a young girl, lady, because one day you're going to be a grown-ass woman. And I want you to walk in your womanhood celebrating yourself. Didn't know her mother was one of the top presidents or CEOs or one of the chief officers of Genentech. Had no idea. The world's complex. This is why gossiping will fuck you up. You could be gossiping with Kaja about Charlize because you think they ain't cool, but not realize that Charlize is actually her cousin. And in the next 6 months from now, Charlize has access to your final opportunity that fits what you've been working on your whole life. But Charlize see you coming. She know the fuck you are. Gossiping pays no bills. It pays no motherfucking bills. If you want to get 100 by gossiping, often you're only gossiping because you feel low about yourself, so you need somebody to feel lower than you. If you're really on a high, you're looking for the high in everybody. I literally walk around. Doesn't mean your brain is designed to see the flaws of human behavior because that's how you protect yourself. This ain't no pop culture. Let's just be happy and dance on the fucking ceiling. What I'm suggesting is that some of you guys are baked into gossiping. Some of you guys are baked into negativity. Some of you guys are baked into destroying relationships. If you look at the old school 10 Commandments, look at a lot of these Bible scriptures. I think it was, if I remember correctly, they did ask Jesus, how do you serve God? And he said, by helping your brother, right? Is it something like that? Am I right? Is that what they asked Jesus? We got to pass. Is that right, Pastor? Am I wrong or something like that? So, I know he's a Laker fan, so sometimes he can't be a little, distorted, but that's okay. Right now he's on point. I'm never going to stop because that's my close friend. I'm never going to stop. But anyway, the point is this. So, could you imagine being a Lakers fan? Okay, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. Okay. Relationships, even in your Bibles. It's everywhere. It's written on the wall. But some of you guys are practicing individualism, which is a first level of thinking, which is, I got to protect myself. Self needs, we are a herd-based animal. We need others. I'm going to pause here because I got about 5 more slides. And then next week, we're We're going to tap into, damn, we're going really deep too. Oh, we're going to get into making decisions based upon how to make complex decisions and how to manage stories. So stories are one of the most powerful tools in the world to manipulate human beings. We use it in marketing, we use it in sales, we use it in everything. When you start working with a large group of people, everybody has stories for you. Now, you can't tell everybody fuck your stories and then stop and go home and go to sleep. You still gotta make decisions. So I talked about what not to do. We're gonna get into how to see it, how to make decisions, and also we're gonna finish this discussion around saying no to things. We're not done with it. We got about 6 more slides. Yeah, 6 more slides, and then we're going to be done with this subject. But what we're going to do is jump into maybe 10 slides, but 6 more slides, I think. And we're going to jump into, we're going to cover the kind of distortions. And the kind of distortions, we're going to cover shoulds and fairness, how that's a distortion. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as global fairness. There's no such thing as shoulds. I want to break that down in a way where I know some of you guys go, there's no such thing as should. You can't tell somebody what you should do. That's just saying, what I should do. That's a distortion. Or what I should have done, right? Those are all distortions your brain plays on you. So we're going to get into those next week. So with that being said, hey, those at home, you know what I said, as we say in East Oakland. I'll see y'all next week. Peace.